Okay, we are live, boys and girls, with Saturday Night at the Atheist. And we have Rational Empiricist, Top Dog Shattuck, and Hyena number 2, Scott. And I have a nice picture of a hyena today. And I think it's pretty cool.
I need to learn to howl like a hyena.
Oh, God. You know what? I keep forgetting to play my premiere thing. And I don't know what... Hyena today. I think
I need to learn to howl like a hyena.
Who's that? Is that you, Scott?
That was me again.
Yeah. What I do is I mute the site. Anyway, okay, I'm going to try playing this premiere and see what happens, okay? Just for the hell of it. Okay, I think that
was something. I kept saying, there's animals.
Clap, clap, clap. I was clapping. You didn't hear it.
Yeah. My girlfriend says stop bullying old men on the internet.
Wait, you have a girlfriend? You know what told me?
Danny's girlfriend.
Oh.
Yeah, I think he made her up. He hired this actress to walk behind him every now and then.
She works in Canada, so she doesn't get to go around.
No. She works in Nintendo. She works in Canada at Nintendo. Okay, Don't forget that part.
Yep.
I'm just messing with you, Danny.
Yeah,
Don't come here.
I'm gonna go find one of those. They have these companies that supply animals to movie sets. I'm gonna go find like an orangutan to walk behind me and insist that that's my mate. Joe the orangutan. Anyway, Dr. Dan and David Neff, please come in.
Yes.
Andrew wants to have a conversation. Ask you some
I always want to have a conversation.
What's that?
I said I always want to have a conversation.
I always want to have a conversation.
So I try to.
Yeah, we were talking a little bit about the thing I found where they said there was a preponderance of L-amino acids in the how do you put it? Murchison meteor?
Yeah, the Murchison meteor.
Yeah, for let's see, there were some non-protein amino acids, isovaline, and a few others, and they seem to be. And I read one time that it was like 90% L-amino acids, and I'm wondering why that would be. That sort of thing. And
where was that meteor from?
This is girlfriend.
How much is he paying you?
A lot. Like 10 fortune cookies a week, Steve.
Holy crap, that's holy shit, Danny. That was
racist comment.
Yes. I mean, it was funny, but damn.
No, she's you're probably more racist than I am.
So
no, I never.
I mean, from what I heard, Asian people are the most racist on the planet. So.
What are you talking about?
That's pretty racist, isn't it?
This is from what I've heard.
So this is Speed. He's the old man that I bully on the internet.
No, Danny. We bully you. Don't get that twisted.
That's Midnight. I'm talking to him on Discord right now. There's Hyena number 2. Okay.
Who is the number 1?
Who's number 1? That's the old man.
Oh.
Okay. And then Rational Empiricist. I think he's just one of those good interlocutors that you can ask a lot of questions. And then Top Dog is a furry.
I don't think Top Dog. Wait,
you know what a furry is?
I don't think he's a furry. I think he just likes using that avatar. But
no, a furry. She doesn't know what a furry is, but I don't know how to say it in Chinese. Let me see.
Well, wait, hold
somebody
on.
that likes animal characters.
that implies that that ID number 2 is also a furry because he has an animal for a
He's a
picture.
furry.
Like, what?
Well, they're known for like the animal sex stuff.
It's just somebody that likes animal characters doesn't mean anything more, really. Just people take it that far because at one time people didn't stop doing it at the convention or something.
But there are people that are furries.
I watched the convention thing about it, documentary about how the furry became synonymous with that idea.
Now, Danny, what's your girl's name?
This is Bing Ching.
Bing.
Bing
Bing,
Ching?
you can call her Bing.
Bing,
Bing?
Bing.
Bing, are you
Okay,
an educator or are you still in college?
I'm a graduate student.
Okay.
Not in
Because
philosophy. Don't worry, guys.
Music. I know nothing about philosophy.
Oh, and music. That's awesome. Now, now Danny had said something about moving to Texas because they pay teachers better in Texas. Is that what you want to be as a classroom teacher?
Well, there are also more music opportunities in Houston. I think if that's one of the reasons why I brought up Texas and with respect to her, then because like we live in Louisiana and the music industry is almost a joke here, right?
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Leo.
What?
It's almost like you'd have to be in New Orleans.
Yeah, unless you're rapping, and then
This is Thor. Thor thought he'd stop in tonight. Thor wants to talk to you.
oh,
Danny.
she always when I always complain about you, Speed. She's like, "Is that the guy with the cat?"
Oh, you always complain about me.
Yeah.
Interesting. We were just talking about atheists that have agendas about going after other atheists. And
I go after everyone.
Your name came up.
Yeah, I don't go just. I mean, I go after Neff and other people.
Yeah, a little bit maybe. Okay, Orgy is here. Anyway, this is kind of a cool cartoon about philosophers. Have you read this one?
Let me see.
Ooh, that's
I
good.
guess me, or just generally.
It's kind of funny.
We're talking about you here. Can you read it?
Yeah, I'm looking.
Yes, science is an open process in which a good idea can come from anybody. Yes, widely believed theories are on occasion overturned by simple thought experiments. And yes, your philosophy degree equips you to ask interesting questions sometimes. But you did not just overturn special relativity, a subject you learned about an hour ago with your race car on a train idea. You just don't like that I'm turning a rational eye on you to your dogma. Hey, what's the email for the president of physics? I thought it was fairly accurate.
I can see why people feel that way.
I'm sure you can.
Like I get what Speed's going for. Well played.
I'm sure you
Sure.
can. Anyway,
Frodo wrote his book with a scientist. So
Jorge,
Hey,
what do you know about meteors and L-amino acids?
El-amino.
Meteors and
People want to say amino.
acids. I know
Yeah,
meteors.
there's a
Instantly. I don't know what an amino acid is.
there's L and there's D, left and right, basically. There's two the biological amino acids are all of a certain mirror image. They're
Yes.
L types, right?
Yes.
And so I read that the Murchison meter contains a predominance of L amino acids, and I'm wondering.
Like L hyphen amino acid.
Yeah, L
Dennis
hyphen.
Jeffrey's getting
Yeah.
bored with
okay.
science.
I'm sorry.
Thought you were like doing the alphabet song there or something.
Okay. Yeah.
But Dr. Dan, they pay like $10K more in Houston than where I am. So that's all I mean by they pay teachers well. They pay. That's all I mean. Like it's
Okay.
crazy. Louisiana.
Okay, any high school because he looks like a fucking. I don't know. He just looks so young.
I teach high school, if that's what you're asking.
No. Are you in high school? Like, are you
In a
still
sense.
in high school?
In a sense, yeah, because I'm teaching it.
Yeah, I'm familiar with the amino acids you're talking about here. In relation to meteorites, that's not something I'm super familiar with now.
Okay. So, but it was interesting because the big thing or the big controversy is that amino acids are mixed, and then I read this thing that they have like a preponderance. I think they said 90%. Some of them are L amino acids. And I'm wondering, how in the hell does chemistry do that in outer space? And then I started asking Immutable to look into how these amino acids are created in the first place in outer space. I'm not entirely sure. Okay, so here we have the isotope ratios for uracil and xanthine, 44 versus 37, so there's about a 10% bias, sort of, and I'm wondering how the bias happens. And, you know, they're not always in equilibrium, that sort of thing. But I think that's one of the important questions in abiogenesis.
So I think, I don't know off the top of my head, but I think a good starter would be, if we're talking meteorites, there are how many meteorites in the world and in the universe and how many have hit us. So if a lot of them show up with L amino acids, that don't mean that possibly just means that we've been hit by a lot of L's.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, and there's other things about, you know, basically prebiotic chemistry, and didn't necessarily have to be homochiral. I mean, there's a really good reason. And then proteins, they don't fold very well, and they're not very stable if they're D amino acids. So the L amino acids fold better into sheets and helices.
Gotcha.
And right there, you have a natural selection pressure that those are the ones that are going to be enzymatically active because they're going to be more complicated structures. But I can't find any really good papers on that. And so I'm calling out to anybody that drags up a paper that we can look at some of this stuff. So anyway.
Yeah.
Okay, goodbye, guys. I gotta go. See y'all.
Bye.
Bye, Danny.
Bye, Danny.
Yeah, I don't know what you guys want to talk about, but how many of you saw the Neff v. Neff last night?
Honestly, I didn't, because I was just
I did not. I didn't even know it was happening.
Oh,
just why give you know, Nephilim free any air, right? You know, you should debate your equals are better, not your worse.
Yeah, I really like David Neff, and I really like watching his debates, but I don't really care for watching anything on Standing for Truth's channel for some reason. I don't know why. I just got tired of it, you know. I got tired of.
Well, what you thought happened is exactly what happened. So there is that.
Yeah, I'm sure just Neffy just overtalked David the entire fucking time, because that's all he ever does to anybody.
Yeah, Danny, Ashley, we were talking about that backstage, and we thought, let's see, what if Danny stops in? We'll just start talking about science, and Danny will leave. No, not really. We didn't really have that conversation, but yeah, I do know that you do tend to disappear when we talk about science.
Kind of like a creationist.
Yeah.
Oh, so wait a minute. David had Neff rage quit on him.
When?
What?
Last night?
Well, that's what he says. I love that he rage quit.
Did he really?
Yeah, David, you need to get in here.
Rage quit the debate. He rage quit every topic that David caught him on.
Well, that's all he does. Like, Nephilim doesn't know anything about the shit that he spews. He uses sources from like the 80s and then argues that, well, we've known that this is that since this period, when like all the modern, you know, the contemporary data is just like, no, you're stupid.
Yeah.
There's only one person I would label worse than Neffy, and that's G-Man.
Mr. Batman as well.
I think G-Man is one of the worst, not because like he's willing to interrupt other people. It's just the way that he goes about discussion is just so fucking toxic.
Oh, I completely disagree, though. I completely disagree with you. Yeah.
Really?
G-Man's horrible. Yeah.
Oh, yes.
He's doing biblical slavery right now, and it's...
Yeah, I watched a little bit of that. And it was like, dude, Jim Majors has a master's degree in like New Testament studies or something, and is pursuing a PhD in the field. And I cannot stand when these Christians think they know more than actual literal scholars in the field, like they do on like fucking everything.
Well, like their Bible says, knowledge puffeth up.
Knowledge what?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I want to know more about this rage quit thing.
Yes.
I love when
David may still be in the middle of his after show thingy.
Yeah, he's talking with RJ right now.
He's doing it right now?
He's talking with RJ.
Oh my god. Speed,
You froze, Leo.
Yeah.
It's when you
I can't tell when I freeze because my screen is covered by Danny's comment.
Oh.
So I can't
No,
see
you're-
that I'm. Wait, no, it's not. It's up there. Wait.
No, you're up there below top dog.
Okay. Anyway, look at Danny's most recent comment.
Lol, Leo. Hey, Danny, true. Anything.
No,
I'd
no, no.
rather
it's
be
most recent
creationist than a
comment.
naturalist. It's far more coherent.
Except it's
Wow.
not coherent at all, and naturalism is.
Dude, Danny, I have a quick question. Are you just fucking trolling everybody?
I think to some extent, yes, he is.
Oh my God, he is trolling us. Oh shit.
No, I mean it's like everybody, right? He goes.
Oh, he rage quit on creation myths. Never mind. He was referring to
Okay.
Neff the Dr. Dan.
Yep.
When did him and Dr. Dan have a discussion?
I think it was supposed to be on his. I don't know. I think I was watching it, but I don't remember what channel it was on. It might have been on
Jesus
Creation Myths channel.
Christ. Purians and Pyramidians at one
You boy. And had it all.
Yeah, I
Okay,
thought.
Jorge, let's run this by you. Jonathan Baker was on Erica's channel last night.
I saw some of that. Yeah.
Yeah, and he said that you really can't call a geologist if they're a geologist for Mars because geo means Earth, so it would have to be like an areologist.
I suppose if he wants to get super thumb up his ass about it, sure.
Okay,
But
so let's continue with
we
the
send
thumb up your
geologists
ass.
to the moon to study the rocks there. So
Yeah. Well, then what would you call somebody who just wants to study space rocks that are?
planetary geologist.
Yeah, I think planetary geologist is probably a good name.
Geology.
Or
I've
planetologist.
I've taken 2 classes in planetary geology. It's stupidly fascinating. I thank God I don't have to do any math in them. You know.
The funny thing is, how is naturalism incoherent when it's the only conclusion that could be reasonably reached? You also stated that science doesn't arbitrate between creationism and naturalism, that literally science does exactly that. Like, creationism is the one conspiracy that is refuted by literally every academic scientific field that humans have ever developed. Literally every single one of them. Naturalism is refuted by absolutely nothing in science. In fact, science tells us that the natural world is likely all that exists. The incoherence of things, the incoherence of the concept of something existing but being non-natural, that whole concept is incoherent. It's like saying something exists but it's north of the North Pole. That makes no sense.
Yes, I was about to say it's you might as well just ignore Danny because at this point he's trolling everybody. You can't take anything he says seriously.
Yeah.
I take quite a bit of what he says seriously because I don't think he trolls all the time.
Who's the salty ape?
I don't know.
I do not know. Hello, Salty Ape. I like that. I like that
I'm
photo.
Thank you much. I found that on Google search, but yeah, I'm Kevin. I was here before a couple weeks ago.
Oh yeah, okay. Yep.
Kevin Chaos. Is that how you go?
Oh,
okay, cool.
Chaos.
Oh,
howdy ho.
Hey ho. Let's see. I want to turn you up a little bit because you're coming in a little bit weak.
Not weak, but quiet.
Quiet. Yeah, that
ready.
should be better.
Yeah, if David Neff gets in here, I want to yell at him about his defense of the meteor impact zone in Mexico.
You want to yell at him?
Yeah, he he brought up a meteor impact. I can't remember which one, but a crater. And it's obviously a meteor impact crater. It's spherical and everything. And Neff kept saying that it's too edgy to be a meteor.
Okay.
what, Chick
Yeah.
Wait,
I
which
don't
Neff
know.
said that?
I don't know what that means. And it's one of the things where, like, David Neff hasn't done geology, so he doesn't realize that you can calculate erosion. And what the fuck does too edgy to be a meteor mean? But you guys, I came on here hoping you guys had seen the debate so I could bitch about it, but none of you saw it. You're ruining my night.
Well,
do you have a timestamp?
I actually got to talk to Nephilim Free last night afterwards, so that
Sorry
was
about
very
that.
interesting.
you need to go outside.
Oh yeah, he also said the Chicxulub crater was only a few miles across.
Yeah, that one. Yeah. I can find a time stamp real quick. I'm gonna mute my
You said that Neff said something was too edgy to be a crater. Which Neff? Like we should stop calling David Neff because that confuses me with
I
Neff.
say Neff for
David.
Nephilim Free and David for David Neff.
Yeah, Nephilim.
I call Nephilim Neffy because he's so cute.
Yeah, shit.
He's cute. I mean, if I were gonna date man, I think I'd date Neffy. He's so cute.
Around 1 hour 40 minutes, Nephilim Free starts going on. If you want to look at it,
okay.
And then if you see the comment section, I just keep typing edgy over and over again because I'm so pissed. I set up 2 hours later than I wanted to be because Nephilim Free pissed me off by by saying edgy like 48 times in 5 seconds.
Oh no.
I was very tired this morning. I had to take
Well,
my kid.
I guess any kind of debater could just say, well, that's not a scientific term. Could you rephrase that?
Well, that's exactly what it was. If you want to say something should have eroded away, provide some evidence. that picture right there, Neff considers that too edgy to exist it's not a media impact because it's too edgy based on that single picture. That's his argument.
Well, isn't that an artist in reconstruction?
Exactly.
Yeah.
See my issues?
Yeah, is that the Chicxulub though? Is that supposed to be the Chicxulub?
Yeah. It's like
5
X's.
definitely artist recreation because you don't see that when you. It's already covered by the Gulf, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. The below picture is the real, is more accurate to what you see nowadays. But he also kept saying too small because he was off on his number and his unit. He thought it was like 2 miles wide when it's like 150 kilometers wide.
Yeah, and that's just a scale image anyway. So well, he doesn't know what he's talking about, just like pretty much all of them.
Yeah, same song and dance as usual, but it still upset me. I like rocks.
I like rocks. I've always liked rocks.
They are the best.
Yeah,
Much better than your amino acids.
Oh boy, northern Minnesota. My we have mines up there, so everywhere you go, there's just tons of weird rocks. It's really just awesome. I used to haul them home, and I built I built yard monuments with rocks and all kinds of stuff. I just loved them. But I used to work at the mines, and then on the way home every morning from midnights, I would stop and go up on an ore dump, and there were just all these formations up there, and you'd find iron pyrite, and you'd find paint rock, and you'd find just all these different. I mean, it's just varied as hell, and big, huge boulders with fossils in them and trilobites, and then just excellent. Northern Minnesota was wonderful. And then you know what they did? They went up there and they decided they went on this big program. They hired all these people who didn't have jobs to go ahead and dump dirt on top of those huge ore dumps that were just beautiful and filled with fossils and rocks. And then they planted grass and trees on them, and they look like big boobs in the middle of nowhere. They were trying to reclaim, and they really screwed it up. But they ran out of money, fortunately, and they didn't get the good ones. But there were some ore dumps that were like 50, 60 years old when I was growing up. They were already that old, and they had their own plants on them, like their own particular species that would grow on them. And they were just incredible because you'd climb up like about maybe 100 feet and you'd be on this plateau, and there'd be all these ancient structures, and there would be lakes in the middle of it. And it was just excellent. And then you find birch trees that tried to grow in these rocks. The birch trees were like 40 years old, and they were only about maybe 5 feet high. And they would be all gnarled and just really cool structures. But what an incredible early life experience I had because of that. That's pretty cool.
Erica's comment in the side chat. paper thin. Neffy also doesn't know what betting planes are. She's just so sexy.
What was that one?
It's Erica's comment in the side chat of the debate side chat there. They're like right in the middle from Guts Gibbon. Paper thin. Neffy also doesn't know what betting planes are.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, and he thinks they're too even and they should be eroded and all this garbage.
He calls everything perfect. What the fuck is a perfect betting plane? I mean, look at one. They jag it and they go with faulting, and it's all horrible.
Yeah.
There we go. Top Dog's got it.
You never saw a fucking rock in your life.
Who is SpongeBob? Who's SpongeBob?
I don't know.
I'm
SpongeBob is a character on a children's TV show on Nickelodeon.
Who is SpongeBob on my stream is what I want to know.
I didn't know SpongeBob was here.
SpongeBob is... What's happening?
He's using the speed one.
I think this is a night where...
Can't even hear him.
Yeah, I think this is a night where you're gonna get trolled.
Marvin the Martian?
By the way, RJ is trying to get in, so we're at our
Yeah,
match.
kick SpongeBob.
You can kick SpongeBob.
Hi, SpongeBob.
This Marvin the Martian. Marvin, have you ever been on Pal Talk?
Marvin's muted. Currently.
Yep.
Currently muted. And we don't know who SpongeBob is. Makes me nervous when people come in and I don't know who they are.
Yeah, so then why do you let them in the stream? Why do you let them in the stream?
Yeah,
They're new friends.
It's kind of. I always get nervous when I add someone into the
Faulty.
Okay, and who's Marvin the Martian?
I don't know, but his mic is breaking up quite a bit when he speaks.
Yeah, you're breaking up, Marvin.
God, StreamYard is so fucking shitty. So
Yeah, I'm
fucking...
gonna have to do something.
I
about that.
actually just had a discussion with RJ Downer on my channel, kind of reviewing the debate overall, and we actually used Zoom.
Yeah, RJ works really good on Zoom, so I think I'm gonna use Zoom and OBS, but in order to set that up, Critical Cripple has a script for working with StreamYard, but that isn't going to solve our problem. So Zoom, I have never had trouble with, and RJ came in crystal clear.
It might improve things slightly since you're only using StreamYard with his script as the capturing
Quite a bit.
platform. You're not actually streaming through StreamYard. So that might let things run a little bit more smoothly. Because like if I go on like Math Pig's channel, or if I've been on like Brain Bug before, or if I'm on Nox streams, because they all use Dave's script with StreamYard, I don't really ever have problems with it. And I think that's because they're not actually streaming through StreamYard, and it's not bogging it down so much. Got really quiet. Somebody forget their line?
Forgot my line. I forgot to unmute. I have to spend a week on OBS instead of everything else. So RJ's in, but I don't think RJ is going to work as usual.
Go, RJ, go.
Come on, RJ. You can do it.
Come on, RJ.
He's here. Hey,
JR Uppard.
Yep.
Oh, is he
I
stopping?
have a free copy of your book. Also, hello. How you doing?
Hello, RJ. Good to see you.
It's been 5 seconds that you guys talked.
Yes.
By the way, well, okay.
know how long I was saying this is started full of people here.
Wow.
It's a little robot-y.
Yes.
Fucking StreamYard.
Oh,
By the way, I love.
Yeah, damn it, RJ.
Technology.
Should I try to bring you in through Zoom?
Yeah,
I
that's
mean,
why
I could leave
Yeah, if
really
you can,
quick.
we never had any problem with Zoom.
Yeah.
yeah, that's
No,
why.
I just wanted to say something really quick.
I'll
Nice bookshelf.
Okay. RJ, I'm going to send you a Zoom link, okay? And that means I can't mute my mic because you'll be coming in through my mic, but I think it works better than anything else if I turn my microphone around toward my monitor.
Well, how much do you know? Do you know how to like stream through OBS? Like to just not do any fancy stuff, just literally click the stream button, put in the stream key, and get going on YouTube. Do you know how to do that in OBS? Because if you do, all you got to do is just pull in, capture window or whatever you want to do to a Zoom link, and bring us all in there, and then just start restreaming it through OBS to YouTube.
Yeah, I have no idea how to do all that, so
it's really not that hard.
Not going to do that today. SpongeBob, whoever you are, you're going to have to tell me a little bit more about who you are.
He's somebody from
Who are you? What
Kent
team do you
Hovind.
like?
He goes on Kent Hovind's thing all the time.
Favorite movie?
Yep.
What kind of food you live in?
Yeah. That's an
Look,
important question.
I mean, like I said, I could leave so SpongeBob can come in. I don't know, although you guys would rather probably.
I'm just saying I wouldn't bring SpongeBob in. Whoever it is an obvious. I mean, the name should give it away. It's a freaking troll.
He's not telling me who he is.
I mean, Leo. To be fair, if I came in here with this avatar, you probably consider me a troll too.
No,
if you didn't
not at
know me.
all. For the same reason I don't consider Immutable Destiny to be a troll.
He's a troll.
Or top dog.
Yeah, but you know us. That's my point. Is that if I came in here,
Even if I didn't know you, I wouldn't think that you were a troll because your name isn't fucking SpongeBob SquarePants. You're not named after some cartoon character.
except I, you know what?
I thought you were named after an anime character.
Well, what anime cartoons?
I thought that anime and cartoons were had subtle differences. I thought that they weren't, and I genuinely thought that they were considered to be different.
We got some high level conversations in here.
At the end of the day, they're drawn animation. They're still cartoons. One of them is called anime. The other one is called cartoons. To differentiate, but they're the same.
So if I had a Marvin the Martian, I would be less credible.
And we'd probably just think you were Otangelo if you came in with a Marvin the Martian avatar.
I tell you.
So
that is insult.
But by the way, if
I'll
you
take
took
umbrage
a Wile E. Coyote cartoon, it's not going to ever be considered anime, right? Does it go that other direction?
No.
Depends if the Japanese make it.
That's right. I would love to see an anime Roadrunner versus Wile E. Coyote.
So I did want to
Remember
ask
the very first
quickly.
Wile E. Coyote cartoon he spoke?
RJ, I sent you a Zoom link in your email. If you want to come in that way, we can try that again.
I do want to ask Midnight a quick question.
Oh, yeah,
What show is your character's name from?
Okay, the show is from whatever. It's from Yojo Senki, which roughly translates to the military diary of a little girl. In English, it's called The Saga of Tiny Evil, because for some fucking reason, Westerners need to highlight how evil this character is. Even though, honestly, she's just trying to survive in a war-torn world after being reincarnated there by a vengeful god. But hey, details.
Sure. Production values are us.
At least you're not as bad as Praise when he's fucking moderating on.
Yeah.
Did Leo just froze?
Yeah, praise.
Is that an artwork here?
For me, he did at least.
Can bring you all in through Zoom, but you'll be going through my mic. Participants, I'm still waiting for RJ to pop in.
Yeah, I don't think maybe we're getting.
So, who's roboting that battle? Is that you, Kev? Or what's happening?
Okay, Kev just muted, and I didn't hear the sound anymore. The only other person I guess it could be, because I don't think I'm roboting.
So
might be Orge, but I don't think he is.
StreamYard
wasn't
doesn't
me.
want the hundreds of thousands of dollars they're making every month on YouTube streamers. They don't care about this problem, or is it just impossible to, with the technology they're using, to make it work? I don't know.
Am I roboting?
No, you're not roboting.
Yeah, I was going to say to Orgy really quickly. Yeah, I think rocks are fun to stare at, but that's about all. If I were...
Boo, hiss, bad.
You're just trying to piss them off, aren't you, Immutable?
Okay, that's not quite true. They're fun to study, like using spectroscopy.
They also allow civilization to exist. That's kind of nice.
But they also tell the story of the history of the Earth. So you just have to put them in context.
They're the reason you have a house and a car.
I mean, they're good as materials.
Oh, I'd say so. Yeah. What if
They
you
had
amino
the
acids
entire, the entire age named after them.
I mean, I think
Can we hear you, RJ?
compound, and it's the thing that allows for life to fucking exist.
Overrated.
We're now having a Zoom meeting with RJ.
Yep.
Look, the reason I like nitrogen is because when you study nitrogen metabolism, God, is it complicated.
Let me see if I can fix a few things here.
I could play RJ if I got on the Zoom stream. I could play his sound without having to go through a speaker.
Yeah, I don't have the tech to do that right now.
If you just give me your Zoom link.
Oh, you want the Zoom link?
It'd work better so we can hear them better.
I'm gonna go.
Okay.
I think Immutable just left, like always. He came in here for 2 seconds and then left.
He's right up there on top. He's right up there on top.
Oh, well, I'm blind, so.
Immutable the top.
Jesus Christ.
Top mutable.
Tanya is the bottom, so there we go. That works itself out.
No, I'm not. Fuck you.
Ayo.
Okay, RJ, say something.
Something.
Okay, so now I'm
kind of quiet.
Or etwas in German.
That's better.
That's a bit loud. Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, I was just
I don't know
like
what it
looking
is in any
something up.
other language, so I'm screwed.
StreamYard is cloud-based, and cloud-based streaming platforms aren't as stable as like something like OBS or Streamlabs or something that's not cloud-based. So it's probably one of the reasons. But I would also imagine that it's either the platform or like the.
So was
script
there a
that
general topic
StreamYard
for
uses.
the evening's discussion?
Oh, RJ?
Yeah.
Actually, no, we were just talking about David Neff's debate with Neffy Free, and we were talking about meteors and L-amino acids in meteors and nothing else, just a little bit of everything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I just finished with David doing a postmortem on his channel of the discussion.
Oh, shit. RJ, no, you can't.
All I had to tell him is that he needs to be more aggressive. He's too nice.
Yeah.
He doesn't drop the boom when Neffy is literally blowing his foot off again and again on stupid, like that nuclear reactor or the Chicxulub crater, that little 4 mile wide Chicxulub crater.
Exactly.
Fucking piece of shit, StreamYard.
Really bad.
Yeah, so now, okay, guys, somebody else say something.
Hi, how's it going? Yeah, I was just about to say, can RJ hear us? We can hear him, but can he hear us?
Yeah, he couldn't hear him before because
All I can see on the screen here is Mike's vampire picture, but with the fangs. But other than that, yeah, I can't see any of the other things or any of the other boxes. But I've got that. So
okay. Anyway,
blind.
Yep. And all of this is beyond me tonight as to making any other adjustments other than I could turn everybody's mic down a little bit. I don't know how that would work, but
Yeah, no big deal on it. I just know that when there's that many people in StreamYard, my connection is not going to work.
Yeah.
If there were like 2 or 3, it would probably work pretty good. We've done that before. But boy, when we got enough in there to do a football team, then whoop, nope.
Yep. We got to do something about this.
Yeah,
I guess
it's
I'll
not use StreamYard.
get tired, but when they get to the West Coast, all those little IP, internet packets.
But don't
Series of
don't
tubes.
be sad about it. Do you realize the miracle of technology that we're doing even now? We'd kill to do this in 1970.
Oh, hell yeah.
All the geology involved in creating what we have now. Yeah.
Well, being on StreamYard and how fucking choppy it is, you'd think we were in 1970.
Well, for those of us who have been in 1970, no.
Exactly.
I mean, that was the era of dial-up telephone. VCRs were a thing of the future in 1970.
Yeah, I remember sticking my phone in a 110 baud modem. Like that's a 110 bit instead of gigabits.
My brother in the well, this would be around 1980 or so, and he brought home his new Texas Instruments computer that had 64K of memory.
Oh yeah, that was a big one.
Oh, 64K. Wow, that's impressive.
Then the IBM.
Yeah, and at the time, that was the time before all of those damned integrated circuit Microsoft people took the space program technology and turned a computer into a home appliance. Now they're ubiquitous.
Yep.
Yep. And then IBM came out with the 128 kilobyte PC. And that revolutionized everything with graphics, or sort of graphics. You could put,
of course, your clowns over at Xerox, it says, hey, maybe you should have like a pointing device called a mouse.
Yeah. Them idiots.
Yeah.
America.
All the little fun and games. So I have to have here I am. Mike and I are the old farts that we've got to deal with the fact that you're dealing with a keyboard format on your PC, and then you've got your pull apart finger moves on your smartphone, and then there's all the separate things you have to fiddle with on the damn laptop and that, sheesh.
Yeah. Yep.
So if it works at all, damn it, don't complain.
The old man is leaking.
Yeah, the first microcomputer.
Yes, old man RJ.
The first microcomputer I had, you had to toggle the operating system into with the switches in binary. So you toggled in I think it was like 80 or 60, maybe a 64 bytes, and that was the operating system. Then you booted it up, and you went from there. And then you could download something, and I don't even know how the hell I think we had cassette tapes, and we had programs on those.
If the worst things we have to complain about is that my StreamYard connection is really poor.
Yeah,
I mean, get a grip.
Yeah, you little weenies.
When was the practice of attaching a letter to a pigeon's foot stopped?
That was the first PC with pigeon.
That was the first form of email. So what was instant messaging
well,
like?
Yeah, that's where the term PC came from. Pigeon communication.
There we go.
Yeah, you took 8 kernels of corn, and you had to basically you removed some of the kernels, and you could represent ASCII that way. And the pigeon came along and ate the corn, and you measured the ASCII character by how fast the pigeon flew, and it was.
Well, you can see the difficulties I faced back then, because my plan to do a giant Babbage machine made entirely of plumbing pipes and Lego blocks. It was a daunting task.
It was daunting. Yes, exactly. Yeah. Yep. Anyway, so 8K of memory back when I started cost $700 for 8K.
Oh yeah, that's the other thing that just floors me, is how comparatively inexpensive all the technologies are.
Yeah.
Compared to what they were originally. I mean, when I remember that the first VCRs were $1,500, and the pre-recorded cassettes were $150.
Yeah.
And laser discs, that they were like $1,000 machines and $40 discs. And we look around here, like, gosh. And I just bought, when I junked cable and switched to an over-the-air broadcasting system that I can connect I think I bought a 6 terabyte recorder, DVR recorder to attach to it so that I can record stuff off the air.
Yeah.
If I could show myself the 1975 self when I first went on cable, that would be the technology that over-the-air could do in 2020, you go, ooh, okay, I'll just wait.
Yeah, electronics keeps going down. On the other hand, beef steaks at Sam's Club have doubled in price in the last 6 months.
Oh, and anticipate in the future that's only going to get more.
Yeah.
That all of given the ecological circumstances of growing beef, there will be beef, but expect it to never get cheap.
Damn it. Because me and my son, for the first time the other day, had to actually have a talk about whether or not we wanted to order porterhouse steaks. And we've never had to have the talk before.
And this sort of thing has changed before. The reason why chicken is, although it's somewhat more expensive now, but chicken and pork and all that have the prices they do is because they're done on an industrial basis. Yeah. It's not fun for the chicken or the pig, but nevertheless, it means back in the 19th century, rich people's food was chicken and poor people ate lobster.
Yep.
Yeah.
Literally, because that was the stuff. If you lived on the seacoast, you could easily get lobster. Chicken was an expensive thing to have in a city.
Wow.
And so chicken was always the premier. If you look at recipes in the 19th century, that's the elite stuff, are the chicken recipes.
Yeah, meat in general was pretty expensive in the 18th and 19th centuries.
Yeah, and what changed radically was World War I. That if you look at the diets of rich people versus working class people in 1910 compared to 1920 and compared to today, that there's virtually no difference between.
You muted yourself, Speed.
They're buying varietal wines at the grocery store. They're having stuff from different cultures and Thai spices to put in their stuff and all the things. That would all be unheard of for somebody growing up in the 19th century.
I was trying to talk to my cat. My cat has ennui.
Oh, ennui?
Ennui.
Is that getting around amongst the cats?
Yeah, it is. They're
well, if it gets up to Schadenfreude, I'll watch out.
Okay, yeah, I know. They get pretty testy.
Yeah, you don't want a Schadenfreude cat.
No.
It's just not worth it.
No, I do not have enough medical supplies for that.
Yeah, rip your little eyeballs out. Yeah, as the old fart, I love to remind people of how things were different and how we got to be the way they are, and try to then think through how did we get here and how can we avoid going to places we don't want to go, and how can we steer things to places we do want to go, like that 21st century I was expecting, where we were actually exploring space more.
Yep.
Well, speaking
of real important question, real quick. Real important question. What's the minimum age to be an old fart?
Oh,
any age. Please don't say my age.
Some people never get to be old farts. I was always 50, and that was a real drag when I was 16. But now that I'm 68, it's really handy.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So it is literally it's a state of mind that it all depends. There's some people who are just drab people at an early age.
Yeah.
And there'll be, I can't imagine, for example, Nephilim Free being anything other than what he was even when he was 15.
Right.
I mean, I think that Nephilim's probably always been a drunk, but well, we'll see.
Yeah.
But speaking of Earth, I mean, even though it's like 5 billion years away from now, we got to get away from this godforsaken rock.
That's not going to happen.
Huh?
Well, there's a variety of ways of doing it. I mean, the first hurdle, which is not really going to resolve interstellar travel, but will certainly change inside of our solar system, is if we can get workable thermonuclear engines. Because
get away from the blast radius. And if we can get away from like the blast radius of our sun going supernova, I think we can.
Our sun won't go supernova. It's not massive enough.
Yeah, it's going to get like red giant.
It will. Once all the hydrogen is burned up, it will start fusing helium, and it will cool and expand. And then once it's done burning the helium, it will burn trace amounts of hydrogen, go back down, then start fusing helium again and expand. And then after that, there will be nothing left to fuse, and the outer layers will slowly fall away into space.
In
order for a star to go supernova, it has to be massive enough to fuse silicon into iron, and the heaviest element our sun will make is oxygen.
Solar sailing.
So essentially, it'll be a red dwarf.
But when it goes red giant initially, it will stretch to the orbit of Mars, at least.
Once you can get thermonuclear propulsion systems that can deliver a steady 1G, the entire solar system is backyard.
Yep.
You can get
I like solar sailing still. I want to sail.
So the fate of our sun is
funky. They're slow for acceleration. With 1G, which is way more than you can do with a solar sail. That's quite a different matter, because you can go to the moon in 3.5 hours and Mars in a couple days and Pluto in a week.
I agree, but it still sounds cool to solar sail and press the
So there will be regattas that would be solar sailing, and for deep maneuvers, you go over the asteroid belt. Don't try to go through it.
Exactly.
Probably not a good idea.
Well,
Dr.
going through it isn't really going to matter because the asteroids are so spread out that the likelihood of you actually colliding with one is extremely
That's not
low.
what Star Wars says.
I would bet.
So
We went through the rings of Saturn with the satellite
Actually, if you're
many
traveling
times. So
enough, even the one hydrogen atom per cubic meter of interstellar space can be an awkward problem if you're traveling fast enough.
Yes. Yeah, if you start moving into the outskirts of a nebula at 100,000 miles a second, bye. It's nice knowing you.
Oh, let's see. So, I got a message last night at about 11 o'clock that the vaccine, I can make my vaccine appointment.
I already got my first shot.
Yeah, Scott, you got 2, right?
Yes, I am fully vaccinated. Unless they tell me I need to get a third because the UK virus or the South Africa virus is just so bad.
Yeah, but now I got my son who doesn't want to be infected. So if I go out, we don't know for sure if you have the vaccine, can you still infect somebody else?
That I don't know.
Wear a mask. Be careful.
Yeah.
Yeah, vaccines don't prevent spreading of a virus.
Yeah, but they got to prevent it a little bit because the virus can't really take hold in your body and multiply, right?
Well, yeah, man.
There's still enough of an uncertainty about asymptomatic carriers.
Yeah.
That you would need to be very prudent, and the fact that the virus mutates. So that the one thing that's been a positive benefit of this disaster is that it's gotten us to think about these things, and that means that we will know this as an option automatically.
Everybody's got to forget about it.
Need to do as a society for supplying money to companies so that they can not lay people off and dealing with social distancing and all of that on a hair trigger. And the old days of conventional design for amusement parks and movie theaters and all the rest, that's gone. And everything will have to be designed to be able to switch at a moment's notice to a pandemic defense mode.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then we'll probably forget all about this little pandemic thing in about 2 years. And
well, some of the stuff we'll never forget about because the display, the plastic shields and things at grocery stores, those things are permanent. Those things
I hope they stick around.
Always be reminded of it.
The nice thing about it is I haven't gotten a cold or the flu all year. Nothing. I usually get.
Most people are wearing masks and washing their hands more so than usual, which tells you how little people washed their hands before, which is fucking gross.
In flu this year, precisely because everybody is taking more precautions, and the little flu virus is getting a bad time too.
Poor flu virus. I feel
bad. Hey guys, can I take a quick 2 minutes to talk to ID real quick?
Yes.
Sure.
Sweet. I posted a link to a mindat.org website in the side chat about nitrogen and minerals. If you scroll down to search for minerals by chemistry, you'll see the varieties of organometallic compounds. There's a lot of really sweet stuff in here, but they're all super obscure and unique. So,
yeah. Well, organometallic chemistry is kind of a unique thing of its own. It's very interested in how metals and non-metals play with each other.
Yeah, exactly. It does appear in mineralogy, but it's I don't know any of these because they're all 15 syllables long. So,
yeah, well, inorganic nomenclature is its own beast, and that's kind of a bitch to deal with.
Yeah, but yeah, so it does exist. That website is just a stockpile of them, and they're all super sweet and they all look cool. I'm just going around looking at them and being like, wow.
Oh yeah, some of the stuff that they develop blows your fucking mind.
No, these are all natural. These are natural minerals on this website.
I wish I could turn RJ up a little bit. RJ, I think you have a delay, so people.
I mean, what's interesting to me about metal compounds or metal-based compounds is the crystalline structures they form are just elaborate.
Yeah, no, all of these are you'd think they're all varieties of quartz because they all have 6 and 8 sided crystal structures.
Yeah.
You chemists.
I'm getting some. Here's an iron oxygen one here. Fulgurite. Oh my god, that's beautiful.
Yeah,
I'll put that one in the side chat so you can look at it.
You
That's
chemists
iron. That's iron and carbon in that guy.
For us astronomers, a metal is anything heavier than hydrogen or helium, but you chemists just had to go complicate everything.
Oh, you guys are just fucking dirty. Hydrogen doesn't do much interesting. I mean, well, hydrogen does things interesting, but it doesn't do it when it doesn't do interesting stuff like when it's attached to like
What
carbon.
the universe is up to when you're not looking.
Oh yeah, well, the universe is also fun when you begin asking questions about the nucleus and how it fucking manages to exist.
When you ask them how what
Speed,
manages
do
to
me a
exist?
solid and
the nucleus.
Share that last link so people can look at it. Those things look sweet.
Oh, that's just
See those?
quantum chromodynamics is how the nucleus exists, and it's significantly more chaotic than what most people would think. Like,
Yeah, chemists don't really answer
significantly
that
more
question about the
chaotic.
nucleus. Yeah, we chemists kind of ignore the nucleus because it's kind of just like, yeah, it's a thing. By the way, about these electrons, though, that's the thing we're concerned about. Not...
Fulgurite.
Yeah, look at that. That's ridiculous looking. That's iron and oxygen.
Yeah.
And
So what is the structure of that thing? Do they have a picture of the structure of the
crystalline structure on atomic scale?
No, the molecular structure of the.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it says triagonal.
formula.
So I guess I'm assuming it's making like
See the picture.
empty
All
pyramids.
you do is to think iron and oxygen, two of the most promiscuous, nasty little elements for connections, and like, duh. I wouldn't be surprised that it could form really interesting shapes.
Oh wait a minute! I posted the same damn thing again. I think I'm trying to post that in the regular chat. Let me see here. Hang on a second.
Oh, it's named after a town in France. That's nice.
It's named after what?
I
town in France.
I forget what the explanation is, but a lot of metals prefer to bind with oxygen over other stuff.
Extra electrons?
That weird feature
In
of
metal?
the electron shells and which one is shared versus directly forming.
The types of bonds it prefers to make.
You could think of nuclear bonding as kind of like a code, couldn't you?
Yeah, you could.
Yeah.
Oh, God wrote it. God, okay, good.
I use that all the time against Artangelo when it talks about amino acids and nucleotides. It says, well, they're a code. You know, the nucleotide sequence in DNA, contains coded instructional information that tells the ribosome what proteins to make. And I'm like, yeah, and the structure of electrons in an atom contains codified, specified information that tells the atom how to behave with other elements. So I guess that's a code too.
Yeah, it's ultimately just the strong and the electro-weak force, like doing sex.
Pretty much.
Well, I can tell you, if you ask me like what the first complicated atom you encounter is, the answer to that one is phosphorus, and there's a reason for that. So phosphorus is the first d orbital element that I think of. And the thing is, like all metals, or I'm going to call them metals, even though it's not technically the correct term. All metals are hypervalent, so they have a primary valency shell. So sulfur can satisfy itself when it makes like 3 bonds, so when it fills its p orbitals, but it can also create bonds.
Wow.
It can also make bonds with additional bonds because.
So are the unsatisfied phosphoruses the elements that go around driving Maseratis?
Maybe.
SpongeBob was trying to get in again, and I don't know who the hell he is. So.
Let him in and find out, and then if you don't like him, kick him out.
Well, he didn't talk last time he came in, so that kind of worries
Sat
me.
there like a blob of nothing. How
Right,
boring.
I don't need
Like a
to
big
be
yellow sponge-looking thing.
He had that site that makes characters talk through text playing. I was just really quiet.
Hey, Speed, scroll down a bit to the common associates section of this site and click on the 2 photos associated with lead. You're gonna like rocks. I'm gonna make you all like rocks by showing you cool pictures.
Okay.
We don't like lead. Lead is a very dangerous atom.
Yes, it certainly was an annoyance for the Romans.
Yeah, check out the 2. No, don't click on lead. Click on the 2 pictures button, not the lead button.
Plumbum.
Where it says 2 pictures in that same sentence, click on that.
Where? What? What's happening? Oh, 2 photos.
Yeah, sorry, photos, not pictures. My bad. This is that mineral growing on lead.
Oh, let's see here.
Look at that. That's cool.
Oh, that's beautiful.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, and my God, there was so much of this stuff in prebiotic Earth, and I just don't understand why people can't see how many different micro test tubes were going at the same time.
Yeah,
because they're stupid. I mean, let's be honest, they're just stupid people.
Critically, whether the biochemistry that ends up as RNA, DNA, us is the only game in town, or whether or not it's just the one that beat out all the competition, or whether even there might have been the luck of the draw where other things might have actually done well, but they didn't get too far. We don't know enough to be able to rule any of that out.
Yeah. Let me check my email and see if SpongeBob sent me an email.
Well, he's commenting in the private chat that he thinks this mic will work now. So let's see.
That what?
Well, I just wouldn't even brought him back in. It's just not.
I don't want to see a yellow spongy penis. So I'm just saying.
I just
Yeah,
don't
you
want
think it will work now, but yeah, I don't want to see what the hell you think.
I would bet literally. I would literally bet a date with Amelia Clark that the minute you let him in, he's gonna troll in some stupid manner, and you're gonna end up kicking him 5 fucking seconds later.
This is he's being serious now.
At least he would know what he's trolling about.
Yeah, but I don't want to have to take the damn stream down and edit it. That's hard on Boomer. Hard on Boomer.
Well, ask him to summarize what his philosophy is, or whatever. Ask him some method questions.
I gave him my email. He is free to make his case in email, and if I know who he is, I'll let him in. I'm just a little bit, afraid of PMARS and shit like that.
Yeah, PMARS is an interesting case.
Yeah, no telling. Or Gavin might show up and forget his goddamn pants again. Who knows?
Yeah, right. Gavin might
just could come in and talk philosophy.
Oh, SFT is in our chat.
You're just figuring that out?
Hey, SFT. Hello.
As our current series ends, we still haven't quite nailed it. Who's going to debate SFT? David. How's it feel being 20? Okay. I don't know what else.
First week of April. Okay. That's interesting.
Oh, so Orge, are you going to debate David Neff? No.
Why would I debate him?
I know.
Debating McQueen.
I think you should debate David Neff, Orge.
He'd probably beat me. I'm a weak debater.
I don't know. Just ask him about rocks. See which one.
Mm-hmm.
Oh shit!
I've been frustrated because I haven't had anybody to arrange a debate that I would participate in. It'd be talking about religion, and all the stuff has been on like evolution and and dinosaurs and stuff. Nothing on the history of religion and philosophy and all those other things.
You're just going to have to write a book.
Yeah. Well, yes, that's one of them farther down the road. Yeah.
I mean, I'd actually like to get some of them to talk more about physics, because physics is actually fairly complicated. And I know some physics, but I don't know all of it. But I know more than they do.
What mathematics does for a living.
Hey, RJ, I got a question for you.
Yep.
Are you watching that Geology 101 class that Nick Zentner is broadcasting?
Oh, bits and pieces of it. I looked at some of the initial material that he had on the basalt and some of the basic principles of stratigraphy. But the thing that was just the gigantic one that we'll be referencing in the Second Rocks book is that long series that he did on the terrains during the exotic terrain.
I knew you were a Zentner fan.
Yeah, he does good work.
Class,
I tracked down all the primary sources that he was discussing and more. And it functionally put me up to speed on the cutting edge issue. For those who are unaware of it, one of the brand new things that's just coming down the pike in geology is the ability to seismically model what happens to a subduction plate after it's been subducted. And to be able to detect
I'm familiar with this.
Blobs deep down in the crust. And there's the area of one that was a subduction plate that was like 300 million years ago, and it folds up like a big blob underneath the continent. Meanwhile, the continent has continued to move up above it, so it's currently underneath New York.
Okay, this is probably a
They're
stupid
starting to
question.
do that with other plate areas around the world. I think they've been doing some stuff around New Zealand, but eventually they're be having seismic mappings of all the planet this way. And so they're going to be able to work out much more about prior continental movements and interactions of plates at a level of sophistication that will just blow your mind from what we know now.
Yeah,
I have
exactly.
a question.
And this is a question that tells me I'm not a geologist at heart. What is this useful for again?
What?
You want to do that, RJ? Or you want me to go at it?
I didn't catch the word.
What is it useful for exactly?
Functionally, you would be to the extent that geology is useful at all, that you would be arguing that you're working out paleo environments and paleo histories of things. That makes it possible to understand where mountain ranges were, and therefore where oceans were, and also where monsoon seasons were, and therefore the organisms that were alive there, the dinosaurs or whatever. You're able to understand more of why there was rain in a particular spot and others, and you're reconstructing river systems. And it's a huge, the paleo environment field has progressed in the last 20 years at an astonishing pace. And this just adds a new variable as to why do certain plates bump into one another the way they do. On the long term, it would be a discussion of what's going to be happening with the San Andreas Fault, what's going to be happening with the Cascadia Fault, why might, when, if ever, are you going to have another major earthquake on the New Madrid Fault, which moved the Mississippi River back in 1805? These are not trivial things, although in the short term, they would be having issues. The other point would be better understanding magma plumes. It's beginning to look like magma plumes are functionally stable blobs that are fixed in the Earth's structure. They're not moving around. The land moves over them on the surface, but the blobs themselves stay there. And if you want to know a famous one, the one underneath Yellowstone.
Huh.
Well,
Okay.
I will add what RJ just said is a standing theory that's not confirmed. We just haven't been able to study these blobs long enough. People do think they move as well.
It's partly modeling and the ability to do seismic modeling and the ability to apply basically very sophisticated information theory to tease out the structure of all of these things. So it's very sophisticated material, but boy, it's just as exciting as all get out.
I have a question that I've been trying to ask for like 5 minutes now. I heard somebody mention basalt. What do we know about pepper?
Yeah.
You just
if you were in my class, I would give you an F for the day.
Hey guys, I figured out who SpongeBob is, and I've been asked to let him in against my better judgment. I'm going to do it.
Wait, so when you say against your better judgment, it's obviously somebody you don't want to be in here.
Well, I know I'm not going to get porn bombed anyway. So, but anyway,
it's fucking Danny, isn't it? It's fucking Danny.
Let's let him in. No, I wouldn't let Danny in tonight.
He's an atheist, though.
Okay, here's SpongeBob.
Introduce yourself.
I'm sorry, I had to do that.
Hi everyone. It blows my mind to see so many atheists here. As an atheist, you must believe that lucky and indebted events have more creative power than any intelligent designer able to instantiate systems like cell factories full of instructional assembly, information being directing the operation and making a molecular machine more complex and sophisticated than anything ever invented by man.
Speed, I think you made a bad choice.
Because to me, that
It's
proposition
Lotangelo.
It is Lotangelo.
Yeah, this is like listening to Otangelo, but just way worse.
Yeah.
Otangelo on speed.
Yeah, he emailed me, and I just thought he requested, and I just.
Oh,
thought,
hold up. Standing. Something about Tim Horton. You going on a Tim's run, bud? Grab us some double doubles and some donuts.
By the way, I just saw Iowa, and I have a better image of Iowa now. I thought it was just fucking cornfields. I didn't know they had rocks there.
You know, I do have a book on organometallic and inorganic chemistry. I do need to read those.
I thought they outlawed rocks in Iowa in 1952.
They did, but they
got rid of
them again later.
They put them.
No, that was actually black people that they outlawed in 1952.
Oh, that was just kind of code.
The rocks I'm familiar with are the ones people ground up and then sniff, and then they go insane.
I tried adding you to the stream Top Dog, and I somehow removed you from the stream. I don't know. But anyway, that is some pretty cool shit right there.
No, this site's awesome. I'm gonna dig in this.
I got it.
Years.
I stopped the share. That's what happened.
Oh, okay. Because
Stop the share. Stop the share.
What is that?
The mercury going into aluminum.
Oh,
and then they like did something with it.
Yeah.
Oh, there's one. What is it? It's like if you add calcium.
There we go.
I think to water, like it explodes.
Yeah.
Sodium.
What the hell is that? Is that like a horror movie monster coming out?
Yes.
No, that's a chemical reaction.
Sodium, I know, is bad with water.
Lithium blows up with water, and
that's prebiotic.
Yeah,
What?
that'd be a really violent reaction. Throw some sodium into water. Watch that fucker explode. That's.
This is weird.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
How fast is that going?
By the oxygen.
That's in real time.
That's
It's
180.
Times it by
Wow.
2.
It's 180 times speed on the thing. It says in the corner.
What's that?
Times it by 2.
Since I cannot see anything, what the hell am I not seeing?
Oh, you're not seeing a what was it? Mercury on lead?
No,
Yeah,
mercury on aluminum.
Aluminum.
So you got some sort of like looks like a wig or something.
Standing actually got my joke when I made the joke about a Tim's run.
Because mercury is one of the few things that's liquid at room temperature.
Yeah.
And the fact that it also is dangerous to ingest gets into trouble. Supposedly, the first emperor of China had a map of the world with all the oceans, or the world that he knew it, where all the rivers and stuff were liquid mercury. And there's some indication even in that yet unexcavated tomb section that there is elevated levels of mercury in the soil. So they think that story might actually have some truth to it.
I used to have 60 pounds of mercury.
And
The fuck do you need 60 pounds of mercury for?
Well, I worked at the mines, and they use mercury for switches. And I'm not going to tell you too much more about that, but I had a pretty
Why not?
massive. I had a really massive chemistry set when I was like 20 years old.
Okay,
Actually, you were in the bootleg thermometer trade, weren't you?
I was. No, it's just that. Okay, 10 pounds of mercury fits in your lunch pail. It comes in a little.
60 pounds, boy, that's ostentatious.
Well, 10 pounds doesn't occupy that much space, you know. But yeah, 60,
I
overkilled.
I do need to say this, and I will find the video that documents this. But you need to be especially careful, and even professionals do need to be careful when they're dealing with mercury.
Well, they used to give it to us when we were kids, and we'd rub it on pennies.
Yeah, that's why you're all creationists now.
One drop of a
trade and stuff. That's where the bad matter comes from in Lewis Carroll.
one drop
Just the
of
vapor is bad, yeah.
Yeah, one drop of a specific compound called dimethylmercury will kill you. Well,
What do you mean by one drop? Like how many milliliters?
No, like one drop of the compound, like very small amount.
That were in 1870s wallpaper in Britain got the colors they did because they had arsenic in them. And so there was actual arsenic vapors coming off of the wallpaper and gradually poisoning some of the upper class in Britain. Isn't that wonderful?
Yeah, actually, with some of the wallpaper, with some of the paint that was used, like in early Britain, I believe, the green color that it gives off actually indicates that it might have been using arsenic-containing compounds. Arsenic has a very brilliant green color that's given off when it reflects light.
Yeah.
Chemistry, pretty.
Chemistry
Slightly
is pretty.
deadly. Don't think about it.
Yeah, I used to sit down in my basement. I had no ventilation, making gunpowder and fucking around with mercury when I was like 8 years old, and had this. My dad would buy me chemistry sets, and then I'd get whatever else I could drag up around the farm, and I was like inhaling fucking fumes, and
Couldn't have been good for you.
well, it made me who I am today.
Exactly. And
For better or for worse.
Well,
Joke
let's
writes
be honest,
itself.
guys. Black mold is the worst. I mean, the worst. Just look at Mr. Batman.
Oh, we used to snort that shit, man. We used to have that for dinner.
You mean there's a biochemical cause for Mr. Batman?
No, Mr. Batman literally has like slight mental retardation because when he was a child, he lived in like a house or a trailer that had a serious black mold infestation.
Well, that would account
It's pretty obvious, though, isn't it? And I don't care about making fun of him because he's a worthless piece of shit of a human anyway.
He has some issues. He claims he's a teacher. He's actually a substitute teacher, and even that scares me.
Black mold. It's what's for dinner when
I
the
have my
cheese
one
runs
debate
out.
with him and have no desire to have another.
Yeah,
same boat.
meeting him is a bad idea.
I see how this is.
He's a very
Well,
unstable person.
I just want to tell you guys that the black mold was brought here by the white mold. We didn't ask to be here, so fuck
Right.
you.
Is the white mold suppressing the black mold?
Yes, it is.
It
It is.
He's
Just like all that
Johnson.
oppressive white snow covers up the black ice.
I do remember that. Key and Peele.
Yep.
What is it? White mold privilege?
Yep.
Remember, white people have privileges.
Well, white fungi and others are the reason why there are no coal forests now.
Brainbug is here.
Hey, Brainbug.
Brian,
What's up, guys?
Hey, bud.
What's up? I'm kind of out of my element having to talk about inorganic crap tonight. This is kind of awkward. I'm not an inorganic chemist.
I'll be right there with you. Immutable. I'm not going to be, but what the hell?
You know, unfortunately, I like the molecular aspects of biology more than I like the taxonomic stuff. I don't know. I kind of feel guilty now for like not knowing so much taxonomic stuff.
Hey, in geology's defense, you guys talk about bio all the damn time. So
That
I'm
is
glad
true.
my
There needs
rocks
to be
do
more
that.
equal. There does need to be more equal time for geology in here.
No, okay, look, but bio stuff does actually like really cool stuff. Like metabolic cycles are a thing.
What are you looking at? What are you looking at right now? Really cool stuff. Shut your mouth. You know what you're talking about.
Look, have you seen something equivalent to the Krebs cycle in geology? I don't think so.
I've seen 50 of them. They're all better than your bio poop.
Immutable. You're being a little biased right now.
Okay.
I don't really care what you guys talk about because at the end of the day, it fundamentally reduces to physics. So fuck all of you.
And we really don't get enough bug knowledge in here either.
Look, I don't need to sit around for like millions of years like to observe like silicon carbonate transform to like exchange ligands from silicon to calcium carbonate.
Yes, you do.
Toxicology.
It's boring.
And then we still have to resolve the issue is how is it that a bunch of chemicals properly organized can create meat computers that can be raw math?
Time is the main element. You know what they say with quantum mechanics? Almost. Keyword almost anything is possible.
Okay.
Well, you know what? Quantum mechanics convince me anything is possible when you see quantum tunneling take place. That is just...
Well,
It's weird, but it makes sense, though.
You have to remember to bring exact change.
Yes, exact change.
Okay, quantum tunneling should make sense. It does make sense, but it shouldn't.
I think it should. I think
The universe is not obliged to make sense to us.
Exactly.
It isn't. I know, but it's so fucking weird.
It's just we start studying and we're just like, you know what, nature?
Over the years, they just stamp their foot and become very annoyed if the universe isn't tidy enough for them. But, you know, fuck them.
Oh my God! Raccoon attack.
Angela's here, or that's a troll of a Tangelo.
No, it's me.
Another question that...
How's it going?
Yeah, fine. I tried out to use AI with the SpongeBob, but I think you guys didn't hear it, so it didn't work.
We heard it.
It was
sad.
annoying.
It was a bit quiet, but we heard it.
I used to like that show until I met you, Otangelo, and now you've ruined SpongeBob.
I haven't watched SpongeBob in years. Of course, it's not the same now that it was.
It's on Amazon Prime.
They're still making episodes somehow.
You know, Angelo, with all the trolling we do with you, I'm surprised your avatar hasn't changed to Marvin the Martian. Or Martin the Martian.
Hey, I will not have anybody desecrate the image of Marvin the Martian.
Well, if it's not Marvin the Martian, at least he should go with a Ray Romano.
36 explosive space modulator.
See, I don't think he sounds all that much like Marvin the Martian. I think he sounds like a foreign Ray Romano. That's it.
Well, that could be
If
the
nothing
end
else,
of we know it.
if
I'm
nothing
going to get off the stream, guys. I got to go to bed.
All right.
So,
Whatever.
Take care.
Yeah,
Go
take
sleep
care.
with your damn rocks.
Later. Thanks for bringing rocks.
Yeah, go sleep with your damn rocks.
I like rocks. I mean, that is where it's at. Is understanding.
Do you like smoking those rocks?
Geology, smoking those rocks. Yeah.
Jesus Christ!
Not recommend.
You know, I never did like smoking drugs because so much of it got away in the air, and I wanted it all in my body. I thought, how fucking wasteful.
Have you ever smoked weed? It
Yeah,
all goes into your body because you have to inhale it.
So much better to eat it.
I'm literally smoking
Really
weed right now.
Put it up your butt.
Fuck you selfish bastard. You don't have to brag, Brian Bag.
Yeah, I mean, move across the river, Leo. We can smoke weed over here.
I will be, but in a few months. But it'll be not to where you're at. It'll be further away than I am now.
Yeah.
I don't know. And then I tried a big garbage bag, so that I could get it all. But then I ran out of oxygen, and that presented some problems.
Indeed.
I would imagine that it probably would. Yeah.
Nobody understands how hard it is to be a drug addict.
I've never been a drug addict. So
Nor do I want to be, because I don't think I want to ruin my life with drugs. I think I can ruin my life with other things.
Look at this. Look at this shit. This is the basically organic or inorganic organometallic. There's so much going on here. That's what happens in rocks, dude.
In chitin?
Look at this shit. Look at these things. They're just beautiful.
They are beautiful. They're also
was that the formulation of chitin up there?
Where is that? Chitin.
What would arthropods do?
Chalate.
Chitin's a polysaccharide, isn't it?
Is that how you pronounce it? Is it chalate?
Chitin.
I don't know.
This should be chelate. This should be the chelate effect, right?
You have to spell it with an I. If you spell it with an O, you got an animal.
Ah. Chelate?
Usually I pronounce it chelate.
Chelate?
Chelate.
Locker.
What is this guy? Oh, lobsters?
My friends across the pond will disagree with me on the pronunciation, but I don't care.
Yeah, the hell with them. There's a pretty cool shit here.
Telecerates? That's the spider bunch.
Much like Angelo, I'm entitled to be wrong.
Look at what we got here: hydroxyl radicals and biojournal.
So, Brain Bug, I have a question for you.
Yep.
Do you consume insect products of any kind, like powdered cricket legs or whatever?
Yeah, actually, I have. Hold on. I'll show you. I got some stuff right here. I'm supposed to be doing a stream sometime with Mama Atheist about it. Can you see that? I don't know that. I got a new ring light. I haven't really got it adjusted right. Maybe pull it back a little bit. These are
what is that?
These are crickets, sour cream and onion. I got cheddar, and then there's the original. So
okay, wait a minute. You raise insects and you eat them?
I don't go out of my way to eat them. I ordered this just specifically for that thing. We're going to talk about sustainable insect protein, like the future of sustainable insect protein, because our meat industry is really not sustainable with moving forward to a greener environment. So it's important to try to move towards some other more sustainable protein sources, and insect proteins always come up. And I do.
I
do raise mealworms, which is the main thing that they generally want to make this stuff out of is mealworms.
They're called mealworms.
Because they make a great meal. But
here's the thing. I actually do like worms because they keep the ground around us clean and safe and healthy for plants.
I mean, these are beetle larvae when it comes down to it. They're not really worms, but they make flour from crickets. They can make flour from larvae too. Right now, it's kind of the same thing with the green industry, with the green energy industry. It's more expensive to launch these than to continue with the meat industry, but it's not sustainable is the problem. So we need to be investing in technologies to move the insect protein market forward, to grow it and to make it sustainable. It's going to be the future. I mean, you can talk about lab grown meat all you want, but Insect protein is here. People have been eating it. It's really a Western thing to be adverse to eating terrestrial arthropods. It seems a lot of it stems back to the ancient Near East, where a lot of white culture comes from. In like the Bible, don't eat shellfish and stuff like that. So we got this aversion to eating arthropods just culturally.
So if we had a really big beetle, could we find a porterhouse cut on that beetle? I mean,
I don't know if beetles would be. Sorry, beetle.
That big. There are some beetles that are pretty big, though. I've seen some pretty huge ones. Like, holy shit.
Yeah, well, I don't think that. I think that when they get to that adult size, though, they're really not. Their final molt there, they're really not going to have too much consumable protein. All that's been invested in building that beefy body that most adult beetles have.
Well, so do insects have parasites or bacteria or other things in them that would be harmful? If the insect being okay, but what's inside them being harmful?
Well, yeah, I mean, and that's going to be the same thing with any kind of domestic food product. We're going to have to find a way to essentially pasteurize them. Would be the methodology we need to be shooting for. But we deal with pathogens especially in poultry, but also in mammals that we eat. So yeah, there are some stuff that we probably would have to deal with in unique ways to how we deal with the parasites we find in tetrapods.
So there's the mealworm, there's the crickets and beetles. Let's say you washed ashore on a medium-sized island. It had lots of vegetation as well as bugs. What else would you want to be on the island with you if you were lost or stranded?
Cows. Several cows.
I don't know about that.
I do. You might not like beef, but I
do, but it's guilty.
Well, for brain bug, I meant in the way of insects.
Oh,
sustain you.
Again, I'm going to defer back to beetle grubs as being the best thing as far as insects to eat. As far as biomass, basically anywhere you go that's on land, the biomass of insects is going to be dominated by Hymenoptera, which would be ants, bees, and wasps. But don't eat those if you have any other option, because they, from what I understand, they're not very tasty, and they have a lot of acid content that does not make them a sustainable protein source. Other insects that potentially could be edible would be members of the true bugs, and of course like phasmids, like leaf insects and stick insects are going to have pretty suitable protein, and they're going to be easy to collect too.
Cool. Did I just bring the whole conversation down?
No, I was wondering.
That would be a pretty cool thing to talk about.
If anybody else had any thoughts on it.
I didn't realize I was muted for some reason. Shit. So Andrew, did anyone know that chitin is found in both insects and most fungi?
Yes.
I did not know that.
That's what their skull walls are made of.
Andrew asked a question, and I was muted. Would you rather be bitten by an inland taipan, whatever the hell that is? What is that? Or
an Australian snake?
Ooh.
I don't know if I would rather be bitten by it.
I think.
I don't know. That's a difficult choice. Do I have to make a choice?
You're going to have a better chance surviving a tiger.
The other question is, do I have the opportunity to fight back? Because if it's just I have to let a tiger maul me, but I can't bite its nutsack or something, then fuck that.
I don't think that's going to work.
I don't think it's going to let you get that close to it.
No,
you never know. Humans are
I don't
smart.
know why your mouse bites nutsack, Leo. That's weird.
Why would I bite its nutsack? I don't know. Maybe so I don't get fucking mauled by it.
Why is your mouth bite nutsack?
If you went to shoot a chick and she bit your nutsack, you're probably not going to be shooting her, are you? No,
I'm pretty
you just
sure if you bite a tiger's nutsack, it's going to kill you.
Yeah, but it's not going to because I just bit its nutsack. If you're trying to kill somebody and then they bite your nutsack, you're not going to be doing much killing, are you? No, because you just got your nutsack bit.
I'm pretty sure if you try running away, it's going to outrun you.
Who said anything about running away? I just said biting its nutsack. I didn't say anything else. Just biting its nutsack.
I mean, you're safe for like 5 seconds, and that's all.
Just having some testicular toast. That's all I'm talking about.
He feels like a bulldog. Once he starts biting, he just can't let go.
Screwed.
So he's there.
Atheist troll in the room.
Now the real question is: would you rather get mauled by a tiger, bitten by that weird snake that was mentioned, or have a philosophical conversation with Deanne? Now,
Mauled by a tiger.
I can tell you it would be quicker.
Who's Deanne? I don't know who Deanne is.
Deanne is me.
Yanny.
Deanne.
Sorry.
Whatever.
Sorry.
Boy.
Excuse me.
Sir, you're over talking me, sir. Please don't over talk me.
Sorry.
I've started doing that like on Discord and shit. Like
It's the only way to do it. It's the only way to.
Sir, you're over talking me, sir. Please don't over talk me. I just started doing that. Dude, it pisses people off. It's so much fun. It really
It's
is.
the only, like, if they're over talking you, and the recourse is just to over talk them.
I mean, at some point, yeah. And then the whole sir thing just gets people going. That just pisses people off.
Sir, you're over talking me.
Calm down. I need to do the calm down. The calm down actually enrages them as well, right? Sir, calm down, sir. That's my next.
Don't tell me what to do.
Danny, your sorry is peak though. That's peak. I'm just gonna lay it down. Like,
I wish it was original to me. But I stole it from a guy named Jack Hangstrike. He does that.
I'm actually stealing it from Family Guy because there's like a scene in Family Guy where it's like Peter's working at like a Burger King, but like a guy is like asking for something that Burger King clearly doesn't sell, like a donut or something like that. It's like, sir, we do not sell donuts.
Oh, and
sir, I'm gonna have to ask you to leave this establishment.
Just so y'all know, on the side note, on my channel, I posted Akil Bulgrami AMA that happened on Discord. I briefly talked to him. Other people talked to him more than I did, but he's the one that completely brought dualism into like the philosophical fold in these communities. So if you are interested in the view that I espouse, or at least the person that pioneered it, it's on my channel.
It's where? Where is it again?
On my
Danny?
channel.
Thank you for that pointer, Danny.
Danny, what is it called? What is it called?
It's just Akil Bulgrami AMA, and I put chapters so you can skip stuff you're not interested in.
Okay.
How did you get chapters? Because I put in the timestamps in my description, and it won't put chapters in the bar. I don't know why.
Yeah. Two things, Leo. I had the same issue initially. But once the first video, I didn't have issues after the first video worked, but you have to be very precise, okay? Did you put colon 00 space?
No, I did. So like for my introduction to start, I did 00:00.
That should work as well. And then,
nope.
But it took a week for it to work. And then after that, I had no problems.
There's like a buff time.
I don't know. I was really angry about it. I was really angry about it.
Yeah, because I did that for my first Dr. Eigenstate Explains video.
When's the third one coming out?
Probably Monday.
Oh, okay. RJ, you said, what did you say again?
I'm saying toodaloo, I must return to the Morrison formation.
Okay. Thanks for showing up, RJ. And I am going to try to get OBS working and try to amend this problem so that I can turn your volume up so people don't keep interrupting you. So. And we're all on the same page.
Sir,
anyway,
sir,
thanks
you're
for
over-talking me, sir. You're over-talking me. Please don't over-talk me, sir.
Sorry.
I have a whole bunch of things that I have to organize to do OBS, and I think I got it pretty good.
And also in the AMA, he gives an argument. He gives why he thinks theism is incoherent. At least one understanding of theism of God can't make mistakes. He talks about that. If you're interested in an argument against God, but that fits into the whole framework of his view, though.
Yeah, I don't really need an argument against God. I don't know. I mean, if that's the cost, if dualism is the cost of an argument against God, Yeah, I'll pass.
I think so.
Well, no, you can. I mean, you could give the argument and not be a dualist, but because it's going to be a problem on their view. Like you could just pause it as an internal critique.
Yeah, I could.
Yeah, I think probably the strongest argument I've heard for the existence of God is the modal ontological argument.
That's the most interesting to me. And it is a fascinating argument. Now, I think I'm only interested or fascinated by it in terms of like what it made me think about, but and what it's inspired. It's just like weird, like it's kind of cool.
How is it different from a regular ontological argument? Why is it modal? Could someone clarify that?
Modal, modal can have several different usages, but modal usually relates to possibility. So the idea is that the whole argument centers around this conditional. If God is possible, then he exists. That is the conditional that's trying to be supported. So the idea of possibility, if he's possible, that's modal, right? So that's why it's called the modal ontological argument, because the argument is saying that if God is possible, he's ontologically necessary.
Okay.
Everybody has their own version of God, so how does that make sense?
Sorry, what?
Their own version of God.
They're just well, everyone has a concept. They're just working with the kind of concept like of a maximally great being or something like that.
Well, couldn't there be multiple maximally good? I guess maximally kind of infers that it's uncontested, but I don't know. Go on.
Maximally just means like, well, in Anselm's terms, it just means something like the greatest being you can conceive.
Which no greater can be conceived.
Right,
Yes.
that's
Being
better,
that
yeah.
which no greater can be conceived. My problem with the modal ontological argument, that that was the one that I know most intimately is the one by Alvin Plantinga, and it essentially argues that, well, it's either God is a necessary being or God necessarily doesn't exist. And that second clause I don't agree with. I don't think that if God doesn't exist, that must be necessitated. And then he argues that since it's not, if there isn't a necessity that God doesn't exist, it is possible that God exists. And since he's a maximally great being, then he worlds, including the actual one.
So, Danny, where the hell is this video that you
Look
just mentioned?
I just saw it. Look, hit videos. Hit videos.
Okay.
Okay. And Akil Bilgrami AMA.
Literally the first one.
Oh, that
No, videos, not playlist. Oh, never
well,
mind.
you did it 49 minutes ago.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think the issue I take with the modal ontological, and not really an issue necessarily, but I don't see why you can't apply it to literally anything else.
Yeah, I think that's a good objection. Their reply is largely, the short reply to that is an intuitive concept, but I think that's elaborated on, and I'm not familiar with those defenses. But no, I think that is certainly a problem. I like the idea. I like Kant's objection as well. I think the objection you're giving it's Galeno perfect island objection is the objection that you're giving. Right? It's the idea like, well, what about the maximally great island?
Yeah, or a gold mountain or whatever.
My main objection is with premise 3 of Plantinga's argument. If God doesn't have necessary existence, then he necessarily doesn't. And then premise 4 is therefore either God has necessary existence or he necessarily doesn't. I would need to see an argument for that if God doesn't exist, that has to be necessary. I think.
I think it's something like this, and I could be wrong, Leo. But the negation of a necessary truth is a contradiction. So, but that's
right. I think.
I can accept that, but then one would have to show how God's existence is a contradiction of something. I don't know if there could be an argument for that.
You would have to show that it's not a modal possibility. Like, if I say, huh?
Yeah, like what you said. Like it's impossible. That's another way of saying that it's impossible.
Yeah, there's a weird thing about like saying that God can't possibly exist. Well, then how are we able to use that term, right? If there's, to me, like the paradox that seems to kind of come out of that is, if it's not possible for that thing to exist, how is it they're able to utilize that concept? Like
they don't. That's the thing, right? The idea of if you're talking about if someone's saying there's such a concept of a triangle with 18 sides. If there's a contradiction, there's no such concept.
Right, and it also means that we can't use that concept meaningfully in language.
Yeah,
And the fact
there's
that-
just no concept, right? And so what's happening is that there's just sounds. There's no kind of referent or anything like that to whether an abstract object nor a kind of concrete object of whatever the term you're using.
So would you say, like, if I'm referring to like a pink dragon or something like that, something that doesn't exist?
You're referring to an abstract object, but that's because I'm a Platonist.
Oh, okay. Well, how about with
there be-
the God concept? If you apply that, when you apply maximal, is that in every aspect of its existence, it's maximal?
Well, I would say, Brain Bug, that the notion of maximally great is already vague. It's already confused.
I would
okay,
agree with that.
but then they're going to try to like attach. Okay, well, here's what we mean, and they give omni properties or necessity, or they posit existence as a great making property. You know, you're going to have to push them for what they. Okay, are you taking maximal in the Anselm sense or the Plantinga sense? You know, like you have to push them for what they're talking about.
Danny, a quick clarification on what you said. You use you were referencing or seem to be referencing like a Platonic form of the object, like that being its abstract.
Well, something like that, yeah.
Okay. Is the word ideal like an appropriate synonym for that?
I haven't heard. I mean,
something different.
So the like Hume's terms, like there's modern terms for these things, right? And then there's like Hume's terms, Leibnizian terms, and ideal. I don't think currently is a modern term, but it could be one of the predecessors of like what we call an abstract object. So
right, but if I were to talk to you about like, I don't think that this pink dragon exists, and so what I'm referring to isn't actually.
You're saying it doesn't exist in
right.
concretely.
Yeah, I'm saying if I'm saying like it's not modally possible for this thing to exist. What I'm referring to is instead the ideal.
You're just saying something like there's no referent. At least on my view, like if you're saying that these sounds are this proposition, that's sensical. There could be the concepts could have reference, and this proposition, the concepts have these various other reference, and they have properties in which are mutually exclusive. So if you're saying that there's some abstract object that unifies mutually exclusive properties, well, there's no such object. So, and then that's kind of like what's going on when we say, like, there's no square triangles in any sense.
Oh, okay. Because it's self-contradictory, or because of
right? Yeah, the idea is it's contradictory, but you see, I don't think a unicorn is perfectly coherent. So it could potentially exist concretely, but I also think that it has a kind of existence abstractly, but it doesn't engage with the world.
So do you think like a pink dragon or pink unicorn or whatever the hell, like it like possibly exist or does exist like in a Platonic form?
Well, the abstract object, right? We're thinking about something when we're thinking about a unicorn, right?
Yeah.
And so now there's controversy as to what we're thinking about. Some people think that we can talk about these things and not establish a kind of referent. Those are nominalist, okay? Some people are conceptualist. Now, sometimes conceptualism and nominalism go to hand, but the idea is that the abstract object is just understood in terms of our own mentality. Now, Frege, I think, poses very big issues towards that view. Some people think that when we're talking about ideas or numbers, we're talking about things in the physical world. That's like Mill. And so the point is that there's all this controversy about what is it that we're talking about when we're saying we're talking about things like pink unicorns that don't exist concretely. Okay, we're predicating all sorts. There are properties, and if properties are instantiations, right? Well, then what is it? Well, that's instantiation is a mode of existence. So, and that's where the Platonist says, oh, well, this is just an easy question. The instantiation belongs to an abstract object. Okay. And so when we're saying unicorns don't exist, we're saying they don't exist concretely, but we're fine with saying we're talking about them. These things that we have ideas of are abstract entities. I'm repeating myself at this point, so you can interrupt at any point. But the thing is, yeah, go ahead.
So what you seem to be saying is that they don't exist concretely as being like a facet of the real world, but there's nothing
Well, the
they
world
can't-
that engages in causal relations, right?
Yeah,
So, yeah.
but there's nothing that so they don't exist in reality. Like the way I would say it is, and I can't say it like any differently in this case because I'm not adept enough with the philosophical lingo. But they don't exist in a kind of they're not instantiated in any kind of physical reality, but in some kind of conceptual framework, it's not inconsistent for that concept to persist.
Yeah, exactly. And we can still talk about it, right? Like we can still. It could be true that Harry Potter has a scar, and well, if you're a Platonist, like the one of like Peter Van Wagen, who thinks that things like Harry Potter were discovered and not invented, right? Which is a very unintuitive view. But because then we're talking about the abstract object Harry Potter, or there's a sense in which we could talk about things that exist in other worlds. So that's the alternative that maybe, but then the thing is that those possible worlds that we're talking about, do they have a kind of mode of existence? And you have people like David Lewis who thinks that possible worlds are just as real as the actual world, that there is no actual world, that all possibilities are equally actual, so there's like all these sorts of solutions to these issues, and it's actually quite overwhelming.
I think there's a big difference between saying like that something exists as a modal possibility and saying that because it's a modal possibility, there is at least one possible world where that thing does actually like instantiate itself.
Yeah, but so the idea of existence is a equivocal notion, I think, not univocal. Okay, we can talk about things existing in another world, but obviously we're not talking about actuality there, right? When we talk about Harry Potter, we're talking about how he is in a hypothetical or given world, right? We're not talking about anything actual, okay? But there's still a loose sense of existence, so it's equivocal between when we say something like Harry Potter is a person with a scar on his forehead, is being a mode of existence, versus Immutable Destiny is talking to Danny. Well, Immutable Destiny is is a human being. That where there's actuality there. But honestly, like it's the notions like existence, truth, actuality. These notions are said to, a lot of philosophers want to say these are primitive notions. It can't further be understood logically speaking. So I can't explain to you further what actual means, which is a problem in the sense that like if someone wants like a robust account, a logical reduction of such things, and to establish whatever, then there's going to be a problem. But the thing is that if truth and actuality and existence all kind of go hand in hand, then as agents we have an internal notion of them, since beliefs and desires are aimed at the truth, right? To have a belief is to hold something to be true, so we have to have a concept of the truth, and so we don't need to further elaborate on it.
All right, guys, I got to go. I just wanted to say have a nice evening.
Bye, Hyena 2.
Bye, Scott.
See you later. One of these days, I'm going to learn the hyena roar and do it as my call sign. Or cackle, whatever they do.
Bark, probably.
Typically what I would say is that if you can't if you can't expand further, like with a concept like truth or existence or things like that, it might simply that we're thinking about the concept in a wrong way.
Yeah, but then that seems to like disregard primitive notions, and I'm not prepared to give a defense of primitive notions, but I hear it I hear it referenced often, and I'm kind of already persuaded because I've deliberated a lot about how do we understand existence propositionally. You can't give a notion of a truth or existence very well without presupposing existence or truth, right? It's just difficult, right? So, I'm inclined to say it's something. There might be primitive concepts, and what sorts of issues that might raise, I'm not so sure.
You and me both. I do think, however, me and you would be in agreement in saying that the correspondence theory of truth is a very limited and weak version, or I'm not sure crippled necessarily, but to some sense, it's self-limiting in how it's formulated and what it can do.
Yeah, I'm very sympathetic to, in terms of justification. I might be a coherentist, but the more I think about it, I might just be a pragmatist with respect to truth. You know, I take, if you understand truth as the goal of an inquiry, then I think that kind of commits you to pragmatism.
Yeah, pretty much.
So, what do you think of maximum possible nutsack?
Well, look at the serious interlocutor coming in, boys.
Well,
I think this is why not farting?
Oh my
pictures?
gosh, how long have you been here?
Since before you've been in here.
What?
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
SpongeBob, you said some really mean things to me in the chat. It made me really sad.
Well, what I say is what I think about you, Danny. I think that you are rambling for nothing.
Okay.
That he's what? I'm sorry.
You and Speed agree on something for the first time.
Tangelo, I remember when Danny first started coming around, you started reading something from one of your from one of your files that you have saved there, and it was a quote of something Danny had said. So you were a Danny fanboy there early on.
Well,
Tangelo, I'll give you
we
this
all
one.
were.
With you, I think of the Benny Hinn song. With Danny, I think of Lamb Chop Sing Along, the song that never ends.
I'm eternal. What is it? There's a quote for this, right? In some Marvel movie. It's actually a Thanos quote, right? What is it?
I am inevitable.
I am inevitable. Oh, that doesn't work, but it was close.
No, you made a syllogism about consciousness, which you used at calling in at the atheist experience.
Yeah.
Which I thought was interesting.
Yeah, I'm not criticizing you, man. I'm really not.
I was just giving you a hard time with Tangelo.
I think, in fairness, when we do argue about creation and evolution stuff, I hope that these conversations don't come off as like people trying to boast intellectually, and but that the intention of this does get seen as people trying to improve each other's arguments.
Okay, brain
that's
bug.
too wholesome. Get him out of here. Speed, get him out of here.
Danny, but you're not disagreeing with me.
I sometimes I assert my intellectual dominance to little peons.
And yet you refuse to let a woman dom you. There we go.
Yeah, that makes no sense. But Brian Bag, I'm sorry, I can't stop saying that now.
I got kicked
Basketball Jones. That's a really weird name. I would be curious to know where that name.
Oh, I can tell you where it came from. I'll tell you. We can talk about it some other time, though.
Yeah.
I don't know why I'm thinking of this, but for some reason I think of like the King of Monsters when I think of Brain Bug.
Monsters?
Brain
King
Bug.
of Monsters.
Scary.
Do you not know like the name that's associated with the King of Monsters?
In what mythology?
Japanese.
Oh no, I don't. Sorry.
God, and you guys claim to be fans of anime.
Gojira.
Brain Bug, go ahead.
Godzilla.
I'm a kaiju fan.
Godzilla, damn it.
I already knew.
King of Monsters.
I got a meme for you guys.
Oh no. Please let it be a quantum physics meme. Please let it be a quantum physics meme.
So let me scroll into the top part so you can see what that says.
That's great. I love it.
New atheism.
And
you can't read the video of it.
What is that? Oh, it's a book?
No.
And that's like a perfect meme because like they're pushing in the same direction, right? That the idea is that there's an agreement, a sort of agreement between them. Like they're going in the right direction. But what a perfect meme. Did you make it?
No, I just saw it on YouTube. It's just fucking beautiful.
I think Danny wants you to send it to him.
For those that didn't see it, here's this.
I just don't like it when people like McRae, who does have potential, I'll yield that much, just keeps arguing on end about the definition of atheism and just
don't take away his meaning in life, okay? Please, like
look,
the guy.
I swear he's a cringe lord. I swear to God.
Can you believe to build your entire like YouTube or intellectual career on the question of what does atheism mean? Can you imagine being that person?
I
Speed, I'm
talked with
sharing
the guy,
screen.
and he's smart, but like, God, Jesus, he's fucking stubborn.
Oh, he's horrible.
Yeah,
to
he
talk
does.
to.
He does focus on the definition of atheism far too much, I think, and I've told him that.
Like, he's a clever dude. I just don't know how much he actually knows. Like, his guests know a lot, but I'm not sure how much he knows.
Oh, he does. We've talked to him in Tom's server, and it's like he's
Tom
above
who?
average, but like it's just there's nothing to him in terms like it's very you learn. Most people that are philosophically somewhat philosophically adept will learn nothing from Steve McRae.
I know I didn't.
Yeah,
but I also don't claim to be philosophically adept.
Well, I think you're way above average, though, Mutable.
Really?
So,
Okay.
yeah, no, absolutely. But I mean, y'all think I don't think anyone here is stupid. Even Speed, I don't think Speed is stupid. I just think he's
What
really.
What are you trying to say, Danny? Tell us how you really feel.
Did things get quieter?
Yeah.
No, don't worry about it. That was beautiful. That was fucking beautiful.
Yeah, it's perfect timing.
No, I don't. No, I think just Speed is just motivated or something. I actually think that he's very intelligent. I just
We have a premiere that we're preparing for this morality argument, and it's been preparing for a while, but
I'm
it may
excited.
illuminate a little bit about what I was trying to talk about. So,
You know,
but I'm sure it'll just go right over your fucking head, Danny.
It probably will because there's essentially which it won't because there's nothing coherent about it. But
Right.
but if anyway, no, I don't really think I think people like John. Let's just take John Peterson, right? The guy is just so motivated he can't bring himself to want to understand me. And so I don't really blame it's not like a kind of intellectual blame that I have for him in the sense that he's somehow intrinsically, whatever that means, unintelligent. It's just that he hates me and he can't think because of it. But no, Brainbug, I'm changing the subject. Brainbug, when are we going to discuss morality? I'm really interested because you seem like a very good interlocutor.
I'm sorry if I give you that impression. I'm probably not going to be a good interlocutor on this topic because I don't know about.
Do you know what I mean by a good? I just mean a good someone that will listen and someone that I want to listen to.
Oh, yeah, and definitely. I don't take this stuff emotionally. I don't know that I'm always going to agree with you. I am like Speed, and I'm a physicalist. So, and
we get to look. I can promise you that we don't have to discuss any of that. Physicalism, naturalism, we can leave that untouched. You can still talk. You know what's really funny is that you can be a naturalist and you can be a non-naturalist, but you can still come to. There's still convergence about. Moral truths, presumably, you think that cannibalism is wrong, all things being equal. I agree. And if we agree on that, that means we do have a shared concept of what we should or shouldn't do. And there's a lot to talk about there, right? We don't have to.
Why is that, Danny? Why is that? Why do we have that?
Here comes the ethics discussion.
Okay,
I'm
going to be very.
Let me throw an additional wrench into this question by asking, what if the cannibalism is voluntary? And I do have to ask that question.
Culturally, it has been in the past, so it is a thing that does.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it was
cannibalism.
But I'm not allowed to use more extreme and more extreme taboo examples where everyone's going to agree. But go ahead, Leo.
There are documented
cases. The only one watching this stream.
The
last 20 plus comments are from her.
There are documented cases of where cannibalism has occurred and it is voluntary.
Yeah, I don't really have. Actually, don't. There's that. But the point is, Brainbug is I'm not going to do the whole you're a naturalist. Naturalism is incoherent. Blah blah blah. I'm not going to do any of that to you. It'd just be interesting to talk about.
Yeah.
What
Okay, yeah, and what I'm really interested in the what you were talking about with the aughts and stuff because we get into subjectivity versus objectivity on that, and it does seem like a good conversation to have because I haven't seen anybody engage you about whether the aughts have to be objective or if they're subjective.
Well, that's like the money question, though,
right?
Right. But there's broadly two kinds of aughts, in which all aughts will either fit into. Categorical aughts and hypothetical aughts, right? And I think this is Kant's distinction. It's accepted today. So categorical aughts are aughts that apply in a way where they're always going to be quote unquote reason giving, despite one's psychology. Think of it that way, or one's facts about the world. So let's just pretend that X is categorically wrong. That's going to be true no matter the situation and no matter the psychology of the agent. Now, there are particularist views of categorical lots, in which case you would just add on to that X is categorically wrong in these situations. So that means that's just to say that if you have a particular psychology, it doesn't matter. So those are categorical odds, and those are the most controversial kinds of odds. They're odds that I reject personally. The other kind of odd is hypothetical odds, right? So these are usually can put in a conditional form where, like, if X is good for the reason of Y, or for Y XYZ reason. So it's you ought blah blah blah. You ought drive your car to work given your goal of getting work, making a salary or something, right? And that's hypothetical because the idea of the ought is that it's contextualized to the world, or to the goal, or to one's psychology.
Is the ought always built on its outcome, or?
Well, outcome is tricky. The idea is that it's somewhat the truth value of that ought, it has to do with the hypothetical, and more so has to do with a goal, right? So if you have a goal to do X, it might follow from that goal that you should do Y. You should do Y would then be hypothetical because of the overarching goal to do X. That's the form of it. I think Kant puts it much more simply. He just says something like X is good for Y, or something like that.
So what is the main feature of a goal? What is the main thing that has to be involved in having goals or oughts or judgments of right and wrong?
Yeah, but that's
I
so
feel like, oh
controversial.
no, never mind. I thought Danny was going to say normativity, but that wasn't the answer he gave.
That's just what I mean. That's so controversial. I mean, I take an intermediate view. I'm half relatives, half not, right? But other people, like Kant, is going to say that everything that is of moral worth or right and wrong is understood in terms of the categorical imperative, right? The Mill is going to say everything is right and wrong, morally speaking, is understood in terms of the utilitarian principle, right? Where we maximize happiness for the greatest number of people, and of course they're nuanced versions of that principle. The virtue ethicist thinks that right and wrong is understood in terms of a virtuous person, an example, a paradigm within that people appeal to.
Now, virtue is definitely subjective.
Well, but the virtue ethicists have their own definitions of virtue, so we have to be careful about what not to equivocate. But the point is that everyone has various views, and that's just like what normative ethics is, right? It's like, okay, we accept that right and wrong is constituted in terms of either maybe reasons, whether they be internal or external, because Kant accepted reasons.
Can you do me a quick favor, Danny? Just really, really quick. Nothing too often.
I don't mind being interrupted.
Say normativity in a really slow, sexy tone.
Oh, I can't do that. I don't have a sexy voice.
Normativity.
There you go.
There we go. Normativity.
I mean, normativity is nearly a synonym for. Well, the problem is that if you take morality and ethics, that's a subset of normativity. Okay, normativity is the broader notion. Everyone thinks that right and wrong, good or bad, are strictly moral terms, but they're not, right? Morality is strictly right, having to do with right or wrong. I know Speed and I disagree with that, but the point is that normativity is even broader, because when I talk to Speed, think about when I talked about the wrong answer. Like if you had a test that asked you what the square root of 9 was and you put 6, that's
hey,
the
Danny,
wrong.
Can you let me try to steel man Speed's position on that?
Go ahead.
The difference between right and wrong and morality for you. I'm just going to try to maybe present it in a way that he's seeing it. So I think, and Speed, of course, jump in and tell me if I'm misinterpreting your definition of it. But it does come down to, and that's kind of why I brought up objectivity versus subjectivity, because I don't know that that right and wrong can in any way be objective, but morality can be objective because we have like an anthropocentric morality, which means that our morality is built around the well-being of our species. So if we,
can I ask a quick question?
Yes.
If our morality is built around anthropocentric, and it's built around the well-being of humans, how can it be objective when people will disagree about what well-being is?
It's not objective, even within. Yeah, I don't believe it's objective even within humanity. But it moves further and further away from empathy at the further away that the subject matter gets from what affects you directly. So our care for our fellow humans who look like us is more so than those who look different than us, and then it branches out to our affinity for mammals. Then
can I say something quick to Leo about that?
Hang on a second here, Brainbug. That is pretty accurate, and the issue with it being objective is it is objective, but it's also probabilistic, and you're going to have variance along the edges. So
how is that objectivity?
It's objective because it's built into the structure of your biology.
That's still subjective to your biology, though.
What's that?
I'm going to be honest. I don't see how one could ever actually cogently argue for the objectivity of morality.
But Leo, I actually wanted to respond to you there, right? There is one thing that you said that implied objectivity, and let me just tell you one of the biggest reasons why many people are pushed towards objectivism. And actually, you said the term that might invoke the possibility of objective morality, this notion of disagreement. Okay, that doesn't
bring objectivity to my mind.
Let me just try to convey what I'm saying. The idea is that disagreement haunts the moral relativist. Why? Because if truth value of a moral statement stems from the subject, then when I say I should do X, and when you say I should do X, there may not be disagreement. When you say I shouldn't do X, there's no disagreement, right? Because the idea is that if the truth conditions are understood in terms of the subject, right, the convergence is going to be a problem, right, with respect to like if I thought that we should do X and you thought we shouldn't do X, those statements seem to be in conflict with each other. They contradict. But on a relativist view, they don't contradict.
Yeah, in my view, that wouldn't be much of an issue because I take to a particular form of non-cognitivism. I know you know it, universal prescriptivism.
Okay, well, so then that's weird because then that completely destroys any notion of disagreement on my view. Like if I said that you should do X, on your view, if it's prescriptivism, it's something like don't do X, right? Prescriptivism
that's programmed into you is to not do X.
Remember, Leo, prescriptivism is command. It's like don't do X means you should not do X. Don't do X.
It relates to imperatives. It establishes moral imperatives.
Yeah, but those are commands. Imperatives are commands. Don't do this.
Yeah, our laws are imperatives, but they're still subjective. I mean,
but those are institutional
same thing
norms.
with morality. Yeah, but I would also that morality in a lot of ways is institutional. It's developed by humans for humans. We set an imperative, a standard that we expect all humans to follow, and when they don't, they are punished for it.
Wait, so then I have a quick question for you. Do you think if I said rape is the right thing to do in all cases? Okay. Do you think you could disagree with that?
Yes.
Okay, if I said rape is moral, you're expressing agreement, right? But I just don't understand.
Agreement with what?
With rape is moral or immoral, sorry.
No, I wouldn't express agreement with that.
Okay, so you don't agree with the claim rape is immoral.
Okay, that's not what you said before, Danny.
I know, I corrected myself. Look, I'm sorry, I misspoke, okay? Midnight, you got to be more charitable, man.
I was just clearing up because there was a misunderstanding.
Okay.
We don't want to have clips of Leo saying something that
yeah. No, reasons like this that I'm a moral anti-realist. I'll shut up.
Okay, let me say it very clearly again, right? I said rape is immoral. Do you agree or disagree with that?
that rape is immoral, I would agree with that.
Okay, so when someone agrees to a prop, you can only agree to a proposition, because if I said boo rape, that is not true or false, and there's nothing to disagree with, right? It's like saying ouch.
So the thing is that I could be wrong, but as I understand universal prescriptivism, it doesn't express moral statements as propositions.
Right. So if there's no agreement, how could
There
you
can
agree?
be no truth or
Well,
value.
I told you I agreed with what you said because you asked if I did.
Okay, but I'm sorry. Do you think rape is immoral? Is a moral statement or moral proposition rather?
No,
Well, it is
no.
definitionally.
No,
It's not strictly a moral proposition. There's other factors to take into
Well,
that.
all I mean, look, in philosophy,
okay,
all proposition means is true, that which can be true or false. That's what it means in philosophy. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
it
would
means
argue that moral
possibility
statements aren't propositions. They don't express something that is either true or false.
But you can't agree or disagree unless it's a proposition.
That's fine. That's cool. Awesome.
But then you said you agreed.
Yeah,
But
because you asked
doesn't
the
this
question.
imply
I wasn't
moral?
answering that question that you asked from the framework of my moral perspective. I was asking it just as a personal question. Do you think rape is immoral? I do. Yes.
Okay, so when I say rape is, if I were to disagree with you that rape is immoral, do you think there's a substantive disagreement?
No, not really.
Okay, that's interesting, and that's the intuition that is violated by a lot of people. That's what pushes a lot of people to objectivism. Now, I'm
Yeah,
not.
I agree with that.
You know, and it's the idea that people want to say that there's a fact of the matter about things like rape, pedophilia, incest, and stuff. And I understand. Everyone understands that intuition. I think so. That's all I wanted. You get my point. I don't need to further elaborate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, I take kind of a weird view. I guess I'm an anti-realist with respect to morality.
Yeah, you can. Well, I think I am a realist, but I have a very. I take it that it's perceptual and
Are you an objectivist, Immutable?
Objectivist.
On morals. Do you think?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
Yeah, but he's a moral anti-realist. So yeah, I don't think that there would be objectivity there.
Do you all want to hear a simple proof for objective morality, or in a sense, or objective moral statements? It's I anticipate there will be pushback, but here it's simple in the sense that prima facie it seems to follow, but you probably could undermine it in some kind of way. But here's the idea: I desire to do X implies the belief that X is desirable.
See you, Top Dog.
Bye, Top Dog. If I say I desire X, that implies that X is desirable. Now, what's weird about that belief that X is desirable is that you're predicating something of the object. That's to say, there's a property of the object that it's desirable. And that's a fact about the object, not a fact about the subject. So in that sense, things have desirability. Therefore, there's value in the world rather than just merely in subjects. And that's just a simple proof.
But isn't the value subjective though? Like
Yeah,
the value.
The thing is that in the argument that Danny was presenting is that the desirability is something inherent to the object, not the subject's desire to do it. Because this thing is desirable, that desirability is something inherent to the object, which is what the definition of objective means.
So the desirability is the quality of the object.
Leo put it really well. I just want to this is very important technical notion. I think it's an accidental property, not an inherent property. It's like saying that shirt is green. The shirt could have been red. Okay. Mm-hmm. So when we say cake is desirable, it could have not been desirable and it still would have been a cake. Okay.
It's a quality of the.
It's like we want to distinguish an essential property and an accidental property. Yeah. So I think value.
But can I just clarify? Does the value the objective value that you're putting on this, it can't exist without the subject, though?
No, but it would exist in a potential form. The idea is something like this: if X is valuable or desirable, okay. That's just to say that it has a property in which would motivate an agent.
Yeah. Okay.
But that
I would say, I guess I would say that like the value of a statement like rape is wrong is entirely dependent upon content. Is entirely dependent upon
Well, that's the weird thing. That's a
on
good
the moral actors, I guess.
That's really interesting. I think that I mean I've heard this before, and I think the response is something like propositions themselves can have value. So like the proposition that Leo won $1 million has a accidental property of being valuable, right? And so that's interesting. Otherwise, it's something about how you've imagined the actualized event, the event, and then so if it's not that the proposition has value, the event will have value, right? So the event in which Leo wins $1 million is a valuable event, and so that means there's some accidental property of value with respect to that event. So this does two things. Number one, the way that desirability or value is cashed out is not in terms of reasoning, it's in terms of perception, right? Which I think makes a lot of sense, right? When we look at a cake or when we see a drowning child, something sticks out to you. Something motivates you to do something about it, right? And it's perceptual, right? It's not like you've deliberated or inferred anything, right? It's almost, think of it almost like a phenomenal thing, where when I see a drowning child, that event does something in which I act, in which causes me to act or to desire it. Desire to do something.
Yeah,
so there's
desire to be a child.
Right. Yeah. So the idea is that when someone looks at the drowning child and is not motivated, then someone is misperceiving, on my view, right? So if I were to be riding my bike and I see a drowning child, and I kept on riding my bike and didn't care, when I say that they should have saved the drowning child, I'm saying that there's something valuable about saving the drowning child, something valuable about the event, and they weren't perceiving it. Now, what if they were to say, well, I think you're misperceiving. There was value. You're perceiving value. You were misperceiving value that was not there. Okay. Then that's the problem. I don't think there's any way to arbitrate between who's misperceiving or perceiving.
Right. Because you're not going to save a fly that's drowning, but a child will motivate you to save it. So is that value subjective to us as people? Because, you know, another situation might find a different solution to that.
I think to some extent the value we have is dependent upon context. Like there's certain instances where I think we can agree that that stealing can be permissible or killing can be permissible in certain cases. But what drives the determination of if that thing is actually permissible or not seems to sometimes be like the value of that action being correct or incorrect seems to be almost entirely context driven.
Right.
I'm not saying about like the process of stealing or killing itself that is inherently
right.
wrong.
And no, I agree with you. That's why I'm a particularist. Okay. I think that it is based on context, but the point is that there's a property of the context in which explains your desire, you know? And so that is what Bill Grommy calls a value property. Okay. And so the idea is that we want to distinguish value properties in the world as explaining our actions or motivating us to act. And it's as weird as if it's perceptual, you have to already think that perception is in itself already very strange, right? You know, like if I see something in front of me and you don't see that very thing, I mean, yeah, you could say, well, try to reach for it. And if you grab something, then it's there. But even then, you having the experience of grabbing doesn't confirm that you've perceived correctly, as you could have just been misperceiving the grabbing sensation, right? So the perception already starts out with being weird. So it doesn't really create an issue for me in terms of how weird it is to say that I perceived value and you just didn't.
Yeah, I think my, like, where I come down on it is that I don't think that I see moral statements as being descriptors and not something that actually has, and not actually something in not, how do I express this? It's complicated. I see them as descriptors, but not necessarily as things that are in and of themselves coherent concepts.
Value? Are you talking about value?
No, like when we describe like moral facts, like killing like a statement like killing somebody is wrong, for instance.
Well, let me give you a syllogism that might clear things up. Okay, so here's the order of events. I'm riding my bike, and I see the event in which a child is drowning. I perceive value. That implies that I have the belief that it's valuable, that X is valuable, or valuable to save the child, right? If X is valuable, then that means I take X to be good. If X is good, that means that it's something I should do. If it's something that I should do rather than think, I'm talking about something that I should do with respect to action, and that's what constitutes moral. So
Hey, can I clarify something about that? Are aughts on a gradient then? Because you said you're a particular.
Yeah, so Belgrami wants to say they have a rankability. So you can have all sorts of reasons, and you can rank them in terms of order, in terms of strength, in terms of, someone might say weight, right? So someone might ask you, what is the main reason for why you're conversing with me or why you're on YouTube? And they're just asking, look, they're implying that, look, I bet there's a myriad of reasons, but what's the one that you rank the highest? You know, so yeah, it's on a gradient in terms of strength, okay? But in terms of whether, I don't know if that was your question, Brain.
Yeah, no, that did kind of answer my question. So because there's situations like, and again, I'm gonna keep deferring to the animal kingdom because that's where I live. Like a lion ought to catch food for its offspring. The deer ought to protect its offspring from the lion. So on the gradient scale, when the lion kills the baby deer to feed to its offspring, we're looking at something that's very subjective there. And so a particularist would allow for it to be morally good for the lion, but morally bad for the deer as it fails.
Animal thought is tricky.
I was going to respond to. Okay.
Yeah, no, go, Mutable, go.
Yeah. I was going to respond to the thing you said about like you're riding a bike and you see a child drowning.
Yeah.
And not doing that would be morally. I think we would agree that that's like in conventional speak, like that's morally incorrect. Like that it's wrong to not save the child's life.
Morally wrong, sure.
So where I come down on the like anti-realism aspect of it is that I think like when asking the question of why is that particular thing wrong, right? I don't think there's a, how do I say it? I don't think that there's like a universal fact that grounds that thing as being wrong in and of itself.
This might help. This also might help. I think that we want to distinguish the sorts of properties that motivate versus the motivation itself. Okay, so that's to say we might be able to distinguish from value properties in obligation. Okay, so when I have an obligation, okay, we might explain that in terms of that which obligates, which is the property in the world, value, okay, and the obligation, which is my desiring, right, or my psychological state, my mental state. So the obligation, if you're an anti-realist, I don't know if this is coherent, but this is just a kind of thought of mine. You might be an anti-realist about obligation, but might be a realist with respect to value properties in the world.
I think I'm to both, actually.
Okay. Yeah, but then okay, so then you reject the sort of like you think there's like some kind of deeper issue with saying something like the event is valuable, or the event is good, or the cake is desirable. You think that doesn't imply, you don't think we're predicating anything of the world or of an object when we're making those claims?
No, I think it's a descriptive. I think it's a descriptive statement. I don't think it's actually describing anything ontologically about. I don't think it's describing like any ontological property of that object.
Oh, okay.
Like the
I
cake
disagree,
being
but yeah.
I wanted to chime in really quickly with just a sort of off-topic comment to Ian. He said that he was talking about concealed carry. That will never happen here. He's in Australia. Only police, military, or security guards are allowed. That's why I will never live in Australia, and that's why Australia will probably, at least contemporarily speaking, would never become socialist, which is why I would never move there. Because
they have the most dangerous animals in the world, and you can't have it done.
Well, it's not just that. It's that I have a very, very firm belief that the proletariat should be well armed.
That includes that inland typing, by the way, speed.
Yeah, that's the only.
What's that, Danny or Brainbuck?
Oh, the snake, the inland taipan. It's from Australia. So
That's basically the one, like one of the only issues in which I find a communist and libertarian agreeing on is the arming.
You do know that libertarianism was originally, and much to this day is still technically, a left-wing idea, correct? It was a term coined by socialists in the 20s. But yeah, you're referring to what I dub American libertarian.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Before
Danny,
you go-
I think where we kind of fall down is I would say like that the property of of a statement that the cake is tasty, like that kind of fact is simply a descriptive fact.
Yeah,
so
you might want to say something like when someone is saying cake is good, they're just saying something like cake has icing or cake has sugar.
I think they're describing like a descriptive property of that steak, of that object, not something that's inherent to that object itself.
Oh, well, I want to dispense with the notion of inherency. I just want to say it's accidental. But the point, like, I there's a term for this. I think it's coextensional I think value might be coextensional with the cake. I think that's the fancy term for it. But the idea is that if you're thinking it's descriptive and thus not motivating or prescriptive.
Well, isn't it descriptive though? Isn't it a description of the chemical composition of the cake and how your brain chemistry and your body responds to ingesting that makes it that description?
Yeah, I think this is where we disagree. I take the dichotomy between descriptive and prescriptive. Okay, and you may not, but the point is that for someone like an ethical naturalist, when they say all the agent is saying when they're saying that a cake is desirable, they're just saying that the cake has a certain amount of sugar, icing, and it and a certain color. They're just describing the things that
the chemical responses that their brain has when they think about the cake, or when they view the cake, or when they taste the cake. That's what they're describing. Maybe I'm the guy you're talking about, because that's kind of my position on it.
Yeah, that for you, value would reduce to those things, right?
Right.
I don't think that's like for me that doesn't seem to cut it, because there isn't something about like
physicality, breaking it down to what's physical.
Yeah.
Why does that not cut it?
Todd, can I fucking talk?
Yeah, go ahead, talk.
To me, like there's nothing
when the last time you heard me talk?
I'm the softer, kinder version of Speed's argument. So.
Yeah, he is.
Immutable was trying to make a point, by the way, guys.
Go ahead, Immutable.
For me, like there's nothing inherent about like the property of a sugar molecule, or like any other like type of molecule, for instance, like that makes it have the property of being sweet, right? Or any other.
It's the way you perceive it. It's the way, your body perceives it.
I said phenomenological.
Yeah, I mean, it could be that that in some other world, like the chemical malate has, tastes sweet and not glucose.
That's what Destiny just said is basically my entire issue with ethical naturalism, and not naturalism in the sense of like physicalism. I'm saying that when a theist does the same thing, right?
That comes back to objectivity, though, right? That's where we're circling right back to objectivity versus subjectivity, because in a different world, it could have a different.
I might disagree with you there, Brainbug. Let me use theism as a way of understanding, giving you my view. When theists say that what you should do is what God commands, okay? Couldn't it be possible that God could command you to do something and you think you shouldn't do it? And if that's true, then the concept of should or should not is divorced from what God utters. Okay, and
right.
So that's called ethical naturalism. The idea is that what your understanding should or should not is in terms of some descriptive fact, like God's command. Okay, and when someone says that goodness is just this molecule, these set of molecules, I think they're doing the same thing, but they're just going in the other direction, right? The theist uses some kind of ethereal, non-physical fact, like the utterance of God or God's intention, and naturalizing the good or what we should or shouldn't do in terms of what God commands. But that doesn't get at the concept of right and wrong, right? And it's a very famous philosopher named G.E. Moore pointed this out. You can actually just Google it: ethical naturalism, open question argument, naturalistic fallacy, G.E. Moore. This is what he points out. He thinks that when you understand right or wrong, or what should or should not, in terms of some descriptive fact like God's commands, brain states, molecule structure, electrons, whatever, right? Then we're just destroying the concept of should or should not. That's his view, at least.
Alrighty, just really quick. I'm going to take off, guys. I'm going to watch
Bye,
Rick
Leo.
and Morty and fall asleep.
Sucking the normativity.
I did want to say something really quickly. Notice how calm this conversation is when we don't get Speed and John together. You get those two fucking boomers together, and it's just all hell breaks loose.
Damn it. We need to kick them out of the... We need to have a vote to get them out of office. I mean, I swear, it was horrible.
It's pretty abusive.
I could have gone off.
Are you boys
many times?
Hey, Brenda.
Just to say,
are you boys not playing nice together?
We are now.
Look, Brenda, we need to form a coalition against Speed and John. Okay, that's all we're saying.
Danny's a weenie.
I'm not aware. I'm not aware of Marge. I see the titles. I click. I watch a couple minutes and then I don't. So I'm aware that there's some sort of animosity going on. Danny is trying people's patience, I guess. I don't know.
There's some extenuating drama between John and Danny. They're like oil and water. They will not.
Honestly, it's mostly John. Speed just can't help defending John for some reason and dies on that hill. But Brenda, I got pushback from this statement, right? That do you think, Brenda, that to understand moral and immoral, you have to include a concept of right and wrong, or what's your view?
That's just what it means. Yeah.
Right. Thank you. Oh my God, Speed. Talk to Brenda.
Yeah,
that's what I got pushback. Brenda, I got pushback from Speed.
I know, but no, morals and right and wrong are separated by again, like
that's just what it is. That's just what they mean.
So, well, your morals are subjective, though. Morals are subjective and then right and wrong.
Yeah, I agree. There's no such thing as morals. Yeah. I agree.
Right. Okay.
I think they can.
I would like there to be a good argument for moral realism of some sort, but error theory seems to me, or at least relativism seems to me to be the only thing rationally justify it. But I would like there to be better justification for norms, but I don't think I can make that case.
I just think that right and wrong are made up of more than just morals, because there's ethics and stuff that come into play too.
That's absolutely true, right?
Right.
Look,
so like they're not synonyms then. Morals are a subset of right and wrong.
Okay, hang on a second. I'm uploading a video right now that I think makes the case for moral realism.
Okay.
In some sense.
Well, you're wrong.
It's like this. Look, the concept of a triangle has the concept within it a shape. So let me say that again.
Mm-hmm.
The concept of a shape is in the concept of a triangle, but the concept of a triangle is not in the concept of a shape. In the same way that morality within it as a concept of rightness or wrongness, okay? But rightness and wrongness does not have a concept of morality within it.
Yeah,
right?
That's exactly what I'm saying. Yeah,
yes.
Morality is nested in right and wrong, not the other way around.
Right. Yeah, I agree.
Sure, but that I'm not sure that shape example really is an accurate analogy. I mean,
I think what he was saying is that
you didn't understand that, really?
All shapes are all triangles are shapes, but not all shapes are triangles. Is essentially what
you can have a notion of a shape and not have a notion of a triangle.
Right, but I think it follows from the fact of shapes, right? I.e., things surrounded by lines, that a triangle must exist, right?
No,
not necessarily, right? Because you could imagine that there's a property of shapes that forbids the particular conformation of a triangle from existence.
How?
Or you could just have a false belief. It doesn't matter. The point is that someone can know what a shape is and not know what a triangle is.
Yeah. Sorry for taking the time to talk for the first time in an hour. Go ahead.
It's okay. Okay, then I'll say it again. Someone could know everything about octagons and not know nothing about any of the other sorts of shapes that are constituted outside of octagons.
I didn't say whether someone would know, did I? I said it follows from the concept of lines.
You think shape entails triangle?
I think lines, right, in dimensions entail shapes. And there are many possible ways, or there are a number of finite ways you can put lines together to make shapes.
Wait, do you think it follows analytically from shape? Do you think it follows analytically from shape that there's a triangle?
So it follows from non-parallel lines that triangles must exist.
I disagree with that.
What?
I think the
Someone else
notion.
someone else
so-
argue.
I'm not getting it, but whatever.
So, I
I think in this community, people are really kind of on edge with each other.
So you take two lines.
We need to have a trust
You
building
intersect.
exercise.
Oh, sorry.
We need to have a trust building exercise. People
Yeah.
need to cool down and embrace one another and
Sure.
have some think healing thoughts.
We need to fall backwards into each other's arms.
Yes.
And
I'm gonna go for
I
the jugular.
really-
I'm sorry.
Danny, I really need a hug from you. I really
Okay,
need a
Speed.
hug.
Let me just tell you, I like you. If that helps.
So you take two lines which aren't
No,
parallel.
no, Danny, it
and they're
doesn't.
intersect and again. I'll try one more time, shall we? Or not?
Does anybody care? Because I'm not. I'm immutable. Do you want to talk
No, I
to
mean-
what?
We're not
I think Simon wants to talk, right?
So, Simos, I think to kind of like rigidify your point, I mean, I think the hill you would want to die on is the idea of an angle as being kind of the hallmark of shapes, right? Because I could imagine, like, could I not imagine an instance where two lines intersect each other?
Yeah, go ahead.
I could imagine like a scenario where two lines intersect each other randomly, right? But they never form a shape in the way we think of it. But that's because for a shape to be geometric, like a polygon or like a polygon or pentagon or whatever.
Right.
There's this notion of degrees, and there's this notion of lines that are connected at a point, and there being some distance between those lines.
Okay.
And I think that notion is better to kind of establish the idea of like a triangle, right? Because you can imagine like where if I have three lines that are connected like end to end to each other, right? And they must be that way.
On a
right?
plane. Yeah. On a plane.
Yeah, that no matter how I try to wiggle those points around,
correct?
On the nodes that they're connected on, there will eventually be a shape that has a particular conformation that I call
Well,
triangle.
internal angles up to 180 degrees. Yes.
Yeah, precisely.
That is correct. It follows from the fact. Yeah.
Right. It follows from the way that I've constrained the problem.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh.
So I think it does follow from shapes, or if you can have a shape, right, then you must be talking about at least two-dimensional things.
Yeah, y'all take care. I'll see you
If
later.
not a one-dimensional,
Oh.
we have potentially a
Did I
shape.
scare Danny away? I didn't mean to scare Danny away.
No,
Do we
example.
scare away talking about shapes and angles? Man.
I beg your
He's
pardon?
Wait a minute.
He's probably just going to bed. It's 11:30 at night.
No, he's not going to bed. He's going to another stream.
He's been
He's on
up like
phone
9
all night. So Simos,
He doesn't like it when he gets pushed back. Go ahead.
Huh?
He doesn't like it when he gets pushed back. Go ahead. Well, he knows I won't let that statement go. I mean, Immutable may be trying to argue it now, but I think the postulates of geometry say otherwise.
Any of afraid of you? He really.
Well, I think it was just maybe it was a bad example of nesting concepts. I don't think that it was necessarily a geometrical argument that he was wanting to present, but I don't know.
No, I mean, I think the idea though is like that some mathematical objects are like can be argued in like as a necessity, right? That if I present a set of abstract objects in a particular setting of rules, right, that I do have certain shapes or certain mathematical objects that result from that inevitably.
Well, yeah, if you have a set of axioms for either geometry or arithmetic, you're going to have
A set of objects that emerge from
logical consequences. You're going to be able to prove theorems from those axioms. Yeah.
Do you think if I use shape, do you think if I use the word shape that I am implying some geometric kind of inference or postulates?
I think shape kind of means, some kind of, it implies a form, right?
I would say so, yes.
It implies
more than that, a form, at least in some dimensional space.
So I think what I would say is that a shape, like in the most abstract sense, like what relates a shape, right, is that it's a relation between a set of one or two, like it's a relation between more than a set of objects that is more than one in numerous.
Well,
more than one dimension.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Shape is just really a vague word.
I think I get what Simus is saying, that the existence of the concept of a shape at the very least informs a triangle, because that's the minimum criteria to be a shape is the three angles. You can have more angles than that, but that's the least you can have.
Just the basic postulates of geometry.
Is a line a shape or a point a shape?
Yes, I would say a line is a type of shape, right? It's a type of description.
I'm not sure. I don't know.
There'll be a one-dimensional shape.
I guess I don't know. I have no idea.
Well, would you say that a line describes a property between 2 points?
Yeah, it has a definition, right? It's a one-dimensional object.
So is the minimum isn't the minimum criteria for a shape is 3 dimensions? Or not 3 dimensions.
I have no idea. No, I don't know. I just don't know.
Well,
2 dimensions.
So brain bug, right? I think the counterexample I would raise to that is a circle, right? The set of
that's definitely right. I agree with that.
The set of 2 real numbers that satisfy a property that that the set of squares equals 1 or whatever.
Yeah.
Other squares. So I don't know. I mean, I think a shape it's a relational property between a set of that's.
But a circle does exist on a 2-dimensional plane, though. It doesn't. It's not.
Yeah, it does. I mean, it exists.
It does the minimum of. Oh, but I get what you're saying about the triangle not being the minimum. I get you there.
Yeah, I mean, I think what's basic among all shapes, even a line, right, which you could argue if you want to consider that a shape or not. But it's a relation between 2 points. If I give you any 2 points, I can always draw a line between those 2 points, and that line that connects those 2 shapes is maybe it's not a shape in the proper geometric.
A circle is a line between 1 point, though.
Yeah. A circle is an object that describes the set of all sum of squares that equals whatever.
Yeah. Okay.
Hey guys, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm having some fucking trouble with Chrome. Is anybody roboting?
No.
Earlier it was.
Did your video load? Because you might have been just using up all your bandwidth.
No, I tried loading the video. Apparently, while I'm streaming the YouTube, it was uploading for hours, and I tried uploading it directly. That didn't work. So
you're using up all your bandwidth.
Yeah,
that's probably why we're roboting too.
We got a gigabit, but my son might be playing games up there. I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway, if I crash out and disappear, that's why. Beautiful in control.
Games don't usually take an awful lot of data. It's the porn. It's the porn your son is downloading.
Oh shit!
There we go.
That's what he.
Well, if you're gonna download porn, make sure it's high quality.
Yeah, you want good resolution.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, I trust him for quality.
You don't want pixelated tits.
So, speaking of giant nutsacks, do you agree with me, Immutable? Now,
I agree with you.
Really good. We can move on. I did actually want to talk about the other kind of touchy subject, which is why I kind of came in here. Really.
What's the touchy subject?
Well, just that, is oxytocin the place that the morals emerge from? Is oxytocin in a human brain or a mammal brain, shall we say?
Yeah,
the derivation of.
I say yes, but
and if so, just to point this out, of course, we're not saying which type of morals here. We're just saying morals in general.
Well, I think at least it's a component of it. I would say.
Well, what does it do? What does it do psychologically to the brain? Because I assume that oxytocin is in more than just human brains, right?
Yeah, I think
I believe
it mellows you, but I'm not entirely sure how it makes you care for little tiny animals and bond, with other mammals. It could have something to do with, there's something about mammals sleeping together at night or huddling together, maybe for warmth.
Mhm.
But that would be an interesting thing to check into what oxytocin does. But I think the olfactory and the enteric systems have a hell of a lot to do with morals too.
Well, I mean,
Gingerkins, yeah.
the simplest way to test that would be with mole rats. And mole
Well, these
rats
would all be just, feelings that we have. They're not actually morals. We call them morals.
Yeah.
Well, as I said, morals are probably purged from those.
Mole rats though would be that's highly specialized though. Are you sure we wouldn't want to go with something more basal, like an echidna or something?
Yeah, because didn't they lose? Are you saying they don't have a sense of smell?
Immutable.
Oh, with moles?
Mole rats. You were talking about mole rats would be a good.
Yeah, I mean, I was just bringing that up because mole rats, they always sleep together in order to keep themselves warm at night.
I got you.
I think the original experiment was done with prairie dogs. Just to point that out.
Yeah, the prairie
Maybe.
dogs and the
You could try to do it. Yeah, prairie dogs do that as well. They also sleep at night. They also sleep together at night because the cold of the underground is they don't have enough body heat on their own to make it through.
Sea lions do that too, or any kind of fur seal. Do the big piles that they sleep in. I wonder if we'd see the same or similar kind of brain chemistry in them when they pile together like that.
Maybe
it makes them not feel that. But the claustrophobic feeling, I guess, it turns that off. But seals are or sea lions are seals more so, but highly specialized. So again, I think that it'd be interesting to see how this stuff works in more basal species, like monotremes or something.
So the interesting thing is how genetics would construct a brain with a animal that would care about its young. And I don't understand exactly how that happens. And that would be an interesting avenue for understanding mammals and morals, I think. Because when you think about it...
well, I think isn't the mammary gland kind of like one of the main reasons that developed the...
Yeah, but it affects males too. At least human males have sort of a sense, of protecting young. And we all love puppies. We love things with round ears. And,
that's not exclusive to mammals either. It's birds are diapsids. There's crocodiles, of course, the archosaurs at least. I'm sorry, Immutable. I stepped right over you. Go ahead.
No. I mean, like the reason dogs, like some dogs are like very friendly or like very like affectionate and like well behaved with other dogs. Usually, it's because like dogs are breastfed, like from their mother, like when they're pups.
Yeah,
but this concept gets into you're going to get into some murky territory, and it's funny that you mentioned mole rats because then we get into other social species and the way that they respond to each other. Insects, they're going to be more. And I'm sorry, I keep bringing it back to insects, but that's kind of what I do. Anyway, they're totally like altruistic. A soldier ant's going to go out knowing it's going to get killed. It's going to go right up and start biting, this huge animal, knowing it's going to die to protect its colony. So there's definitely something, and I don't think that's the same. That it's the same as what's developed in social mammals. So there is definitely multiple facets to have this kind of behavior to live in a social group. It's just
well, I think it's almost building on top of each other, right? So like with insects, I think with isn't it the case that like with like soldier insects and compared to like different other types of ants, that it's mostly like pheromones that drive?
Yeah. Oh, it's all chemoreceptors, and I'm sure that there's other cues too that they follow. And this is stuff that we're just now beginning to delve into, but like the way that they route their little paths and decide what they're make their decisions, they're almost automatic.
And that brings us back to the olfactory, basically.
Well, with insects, I mean, and I'm not an entomologist, but it seems almost like clockwork.
Right. And but we just don't see this. It's clockwork in us because we are us. The ant would see what we're doing as clockwork to them, and to them, their world is very complex, and everything that they do has reason. You know, just hypothetically, that they have driving forces, but I don't know.
Well, would you say that the desire can be related to like the chemical process in this case?
Yes.
Like the process of
So somebody named Darth Dawkins just popped up in the stream. What the?
No thanks.
Yeah, no, Darth, no. If that's
That's
real,
all. I'll debate him.
That's him. No, we don't want his shit in here.
No thanks.
Yeah, you can change your name if that's not you. So,
sorry, Immutable, you were saying.
Yeah, I mean, I think you can rationalize it in the sense that that the behavior that these like ants, for instance, exhibit, and it's probably similar among other insect species, could be driven as the result to kind of get more of the high from that chemical receptor, if you will, right?
Yeah.
Molecule to keep engaging the that particular set of class of neurotransmitter or whatever in the way that it is doing.
So,
right.
Yeah.
I'm
definitely with you there, but how do you? But I don't separate what we do from that. I don't think that there's what is the it comes to where's the point of division there for you that you're seeing?
Well,
what are we doing that's different?
I think there's an addition. I think there's an additional element to it.
I'm going to take off. It's getting late for me.
Okay.
Okay.
Before you go, Brenda, can you just
see you, Brenda?
All right.
ask you one question before you go, Brenda?
Yeah.
Oh, thanks. Yeah. Did you feel that there was any need to talk about what is right and wrong in that last section of conversation to do with morality?
Yeah, if you're talking about morality, you need to talk about right and wrong.
We were just talking about morality.
No, you're not. You're talking about the chemical precursors to what we call
morality.
Oxytocin. The oxytocin doesn't have anything to do with morality.
I think it does.
How do you know that?
Chemicals don't have anything to do with morality.
Oh, I think they do.
I think that's
Don't you think morality is about human action?
Morality is the sense of rightness or wrongness, about courses of right action. That's not determined by a molecule.
What do you think is driving that?
Like I was telling or trying to tell Danny, it's all of that is after the fact. Basically, there's a basis. There is a biological basis in reality. There's a biological basis.
No, I'm saying that if we assume naturalism to be true, doesn't it follow, right?
No, it doesn't follow.
If you assume naturalism to be true.
Right. If you assume naturalism to be true, there's no such thing as morals at all.
I disagree.
It's just chemicals. It's just chemicals. It's just
no.
I disagree. I think you'll find a lot of neuroscientists that'll say that chemicals and certain classes of chemical interactions are sufficient to give rise to what people would call moral behavior.
Yeah.
That's like, I mean, we use that information to balance people's behavior with medications and stuff to help them.
I mean, it's all just naturalistic fallacy stuff, though. The fact that
it was a naturalistic fallacy if it's demonstrable. If we can alter those chemicals and see the changes.
We assume naturalism to be true, Brenda.
No, even if it's true, it doesn't make your meta-ethical theory true.
No, it's saying that a ethical theory is emergent from That's right.
No.
Well, that's what naturalism means.
Wow, that's an interesting view, Brenda.
You assume that to be true. Basically, what you're saying. Hang on. If you assume naturalism to be true, basically you are saying consciousness is emergent from the brain.
I don't know that consciousness even exists. I agree with Daniel Dennett that consciousness is really just kind of an illusion.
Sure, but if it does, if naturalism is true, then that illusion is emergent from the brain, whatever you call it.
Yeah, but that's not real. Just like morals are just not real. People could have other morals.
Sure, exactly, and that's what we're saying here.
You could have other beings. You could have other beings, so they're non-human beings from
exactly.
Don't even have our chemistry that could have completely different morals.
Exactly. Yes, that's
yeah.
Sure, that's permissible.
So oxytocin doesn't have anything to do with morals. It's about right action.
Should we clarify that our morals?
We are talking about humans, we're not.
Well, even within humans, it doesn't mean that it's right to do something. Just because you have a little squirt of, just because evolution gave you a squirt of endorphins.
It doesn't inform right or wrong. It informs action, and then society decides whether that action is right or wrong. So the response that you get from the chemicals in your brain is informing your actions, and then society, based on the way that they respond to those same stimulations, decide whether that constitutes a right or wrong action towards the chemical reactions that they get.
Well, that's one view, but
right.
I don't think that morals are decided by your community.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine. But then, if naturalism is
morals by and large seems to be
again, that's the presupposition that I don't think that you're saying. You're saying I don't. Well, okay, maybe you don't. But that's not the question I'm asking. The question I'm asking: if naturalism is true, does it follow that? Right, and that's you're not asking that question every time.
Because I don't see how it could follow from naturalism being true that therefore there must be some kind of moral realism. I don't see how that is true.
Again, we're not saying whether it's real or illusionary. That's not the problem.
Kind of is what you're saying.
You're kind of putting the cart before the horse again, because we're saying that I'm saying anyway that it's an emergent property. It doesn't mean that it necessarily follows that will be the case given naturalism is true. No, that's not what the question is. The question is given human beings and a mechanism by which the brain has action based upon chemicals, that some of those actions could be described as moral. Right? That's a completely different question that you're not answering.
Is it moral for me to, in the trolley problem, to flip the switch or to not flip the switch?
It doesn't matter whether it is. I mean, we don't have to talk about whether something is or is not moral. That's not the question.
But isn't that? I thought that was the question.
No, that is not the question. We just had a conversation 20 minutes regarding the possible derivation of chemicals to give rise to morals. And in no time did we need to ask whether something was or was not moral.
Well, I can tell you that if the one track has my family, my brothers and sisters, my children on it, and the other has Nazis, I'm going to get a powerful dose of hormones from my limbic system that are going to tell me, send that train to kill the Nazis and not my family.
Okay.
And I'm not convinced that I don't think that that's moral.
Right. You don't think that's moral?
Right. I don't see, it's a preference. It's not, I don't see it as any kind of fact of the world that I should do one action or the other. I think it's a preference.
Okay, that's fair enough. I'm happy to say that you think it's a preference. I'm happy to say that, okay? And that's fine. Even if you describe morals as preferences, that's still, there's still a right, they still arise from an emergent brain, right, which has chemicals acting within it. And that's the only point I've been trying to make. You seem to want to put down the end of the line exactly as somebody else did.
Sure.
Right?
Sure,
when we're not really talking about whether it is or is not immoral, right? We're not really saying that the X action is moral or immoral. That's not the judgment. We're just saying that X action has some component which makes it moral. or immoral.
Well, I could come from a species. I could come from a species that loves the taste of human babies roasted over an open pit.
Sure, that's right, and they would probably see
that's just fine. That's moral for me.
Yeah, God was like the smell of that, animal.
Yeah,
right?
it's pleasing. It's pleasing.
We did have species that evolved alongside of us that we were a regular prey item. So there were species that.
Who's that? What's that?
I do see how easy it is to get down this deceptional path. Really, as I see it, Brenda. Okay, of not accepting in the first place. The question was in the first place: is it moral to do X, Y, or Z?
Yeah, it's really thorny.
Right.
That's why a lot of people have a problem.
Given naturalism to be true, it's not thorny to say that morals have some chemical component. How can you even guess that wouldn't be the case? Right?
Because my species, we're also got chemicals, and my chemicals say it's good to roast human babies on a nice charcoal fire.
Yeah, okay.
You don't think that.
That's subjective to your species.
Right, that's fine. I don't
I accept that the chemicals may not be working in your brain the same way they're working in my brain.
Well, then it isn't chemicals that make something moral or not.
So your species, okay, so your species is different, and your chemicals are, and you don't have oxytocin. But what is driving you? What is making it moral for you to want to roast babies? What is driving you? What is informing your actions?
Well, my evolutionary history is such that I have a chemical in my brain, my alien brain, that makes it such that actions you would consider immoral are to me moral.
So the chemicals in your brain are informing your actions. That's what we're saying, is that the chemicals in our brain, whether those chemicals are oxytocin, he's saying yes, it's oxytocin for humans, but for other species, it may be a different chemical that informs their actions.
And that is a reductio for me to say that that you're not actually talking about morals, because you can't have contradictory actions and have them both be moral.
Well, morals are subjective, so yeah, you can.
You would agree with Danny.
Yeah, that would. In other words, they're not moral.
Position, Brenda, and it's not what the question is.
So are you coming into this that the only way to be moral is to have more objective morality?
I don't think there's any such thing.
So we're talking about subjective morality.
There's no such thing as subjective morality. It's just gibberish.
I think what she's saying is that she's an anti-realist.
I'm a reluctant error theorist.
Error theorist. Okay, well, that's fine. Again, that's your position. When I asked you the question, it wasn't from a position, your position. You realize that, yeah?
Yep. Let me put it this way. You have Bob and Sally. Bob says...
Why are you talking about that? Can't you answer my question, Brenda?
I didn't hear a question. I really didn't.
The question was, right, when I first posed the question to you, it was on the presupposition that naturalism is true, correct?
Yes, but naturalism being true says more about morals. It says nothing about morals.
That's fine. I understand that.
Nothing flows from nationalism being true with regards to morality.
Sure, there was more to the question, right? And the point was, how do we explain what we call morals, right? In human action, in terms of human action, given that naturalism is true. Right? So there's a whole lot more. It's not just that it follows from naturalism. Again, you just completely got the cart before the horse, and then ran to the end and went, oh, if we've got to talk about morals, we can't, because they don't exist, because that's all subjective, or subjective, and that makes a nonsense of the whole thing. From the question that I was asking,
okay, from the fact that naturalism is true, nothing regarding metaethical theories or the metaphysics of morals follows.
Yeah, okay. It depends how you define morals, okay, and I appreciate that.
Well, morals as I understand it, is usually defined as principles for right action.
Sure.
What,
Yep.
right.
That'll do.
And so the fact that humans and other mammals get a little dose of oxytocin that makes them pro-social
Yes.
doesn't make being pro-social moral.
Right. Okay. Again, I don't know.
It has nothing. Yeah.
I don't
yeah.
understand what you mean by right action. If you think that two humans not fighting, for instance, would be considered right action, I don't
Well,
understand.
right action would be.
I think our propensity to bond to only one person rather than many people, right? Our propensity for that, of course, is a sign of moral behavior.
No, that's immoral. That's immoral. It's moral to bond with multiple people.
Sure.
But you people that bond with a single partner for the rest of your lives, that's the height of immorality.
Brenda, you've done it again, right? You've taken me being moral to be good moral as opposed to bad moral.
Well, what else does it? That's what it means to be moral.
When I say morals, I mean the entire scope of what we call moral and immoral. I'm not talking about a particular type of morality.
I don't understand how you're using that word. To me, moral is simply
morals. I'm using plural there.
What you should or should not do, what you ought to do, what your social norms are.
Yeah. Okay. What you ought, what you ought or not do.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Ought I bond with one person for the rest of my life, or should I be promiscuous?
Yeah. So I'm to do both. What you ought or not do. Both.
I don't think there is an ought.
Oh Jesus, fuck! Who's asking you for your opinion when we're saying?
I think you are. I think you are.
Presupposition, right, of naturalism, right, and humans acting in a particular way towards a chemical drug.
There's no oughts that flow from chemicals.
Well,
I disagree.
No, how can you possibly? I just don't understand where you're coming from.
Because certain chemicals like oxytocin affect neural behavior in a very deterministic way.
Sure. So does a bullet.
Brenda.
Right, but so there is a causal tendency of a hormone like oxytocin to direct a specific type of chemical behavior.
Can you guys hear me?
That's just a naturalistic fallacy.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Where that was a fallacy.
I was beginning to wonder. Brenda, I did this video and I did some drawing and I tried to explain how basically these basic things in biology basically can be extended and you can construct all of these things about morality, which are primarily exist in folk psychology. Now, I agree with you a little bit that they don't really exist in an objective fashion because we construct them with our language and our culture. And I think it clears it up. And I think that's kind of where you guys are missing each other, or why you're not understanding this naturalistic reduction. Because it's not a reduction, it's a constructive process. You start with the biology and you construct morality and you come up and then you enter where we start, like humans can plan for the future or talk about the future, and then we come up with words like what we ought to do tomorrow or in the next 5 minutes, right? None of that shit exists at the biological level, but you can construct it all when you look at our brains. So I'm hoping that we can make sense out of it.
I'm just not seeing it. I don't see it. I think that you can't derive oughts from facts, from things that exist.
Yeah, and I disagree
Brenda,
because that's what we've done.
Brenda, can I just real quick, and then so do you think the concept of metaphysics it would be to describe things that happen within the brain?
I think no, that's physics. That's neurology. That's not metaphysics. Metaphysics is about possible worlds.
But only our perception, right?
What?
metaphysics is based on our human perception, what we can perceive of the physical world.
It's about reason. My understanding, and I could be wrong, of metaphysics is that it has to do with what we think are possible worlds. So if I am riding my bicycle and a car passes really close to me, and I stop my bicycle and my heart is beating really fast, and I think to myself, that car almost hit me, I could have died. Metaphysics would say it possibly you could have died. And so considering of probabilities is metaphysics. I could be wrong. So that's my best understanding at this time.
I wanted to try to steal man what Speed said. He said earlier that morality is objective in the sense that it's built into the biology. You were talking about dopamine, and that's just one chemical that occurs when you're in the stream of consciousness. You're dealing with dopamine, serotonin. You could hear a balloon pop in the room and get a burst of adrenaline. There's so much chemistries that are going on in the brain, but they all constitute what's built into our biology, and this is what's objective in this sense. And these things could be measured, and they could be measured in terms of our how we perceive morality within our society. I think that's more the point that we're trying to get at. And you seem kind of I don't know if it's naive to that. I don't know if you're a social person or if you're a hermit, you stay inside, or but that's kind of the point we're trying to draw. I think. I don't know if Speed would agree.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's very clear documented cases, like neurologically, where if you see like a damaged hormone receptor or a damaged pathway for a particular class of hormone or neurotransmitter not being produced, you do see clear effects with respect to the fact that like certain aspects in regards to moral behaviors are definitely affected, where a person exhibits a lack of empathy or things like that.
Empathy is evil. Empathy is immoral. What are you talking about? All these chemicals that you guys are getting, they're immoral. They're making you do immoral things.
It's still
like take care of people and being kind. That's just horrible.
It's still part
You people are monsters. You people are monsters.
It's still part of the moral landscape.
I'll quote Marilyn Manson on this one. I don't like the drugs, but the drugs like me.
It's still part of the moral landscape, whichever way you look at it. It's good or bad, and that was the point. But
the moral landscape is bullshit. It's bullshit.
I like Salvador Dali. He said, "I am the drugs," and that's what she's not realizing, that these chemicals are part of her biological makeup. They're part of her intrinsic being.
It's just still more naturalistic fallacies. It just doesn't. You can't get from an ought to an is.
It's not a naturalistic fallacy under certain conditions. But that's besides the point, right? Which is, and I'd like to make a different point now, Brenda, which is that I appreciate that you have a different philosophical framework upon which you use the word morals, certainly to the one that I do anyway, right? When I'm using it and have been using it in this discussion, I haven't been using some specific notion. I've been trying to use a general descriptive word, all right, which covers a broad area of philosophical, shall we say, treaties, if you like, or understandings towards how this word is used, right? And that's not how you're using it clearly, and I apologize.
I'm using it. Yeah, I'm using it to refer to principles of right action.
Sure, I was as well, right?
Yeah,
but
and I don't think those principles can come from a molecule. They can't come from nature.
Okay. I appreciate that's your personal viewpoint, right? I assume you don't call yourself a naturalist then.
No, I'm definitely a naturalist.
Oh, you're a naturalist as well. Okay.
Yeah, I don't see how there can be any kind of objective morals.
Yeah, well, when you say objective, that's not. Hang on. When you say objective, you're misinterpreting what we're trying to say about them coming from.
I think we all agree there's no objective morals.
But you're talking as if you are. You're saying that these morals are created by these chemicals that evolution programmed into us, right?
Yeah, that's not objective if they're only in humans. It's not objective if they're only in mammals. It's not objective if they're only in animals. It's subject to the subject.
Well, they're accidental in that way.
Well, I don't think anything in biology is accidental, but I mean, we could talk about that. I think that us not understanding the mechanisms in the when it comes to biology, the evolution that led to those mechanisms becoming active in our species, I don't think any of that's accidental. I think it's all driven by natural selection, epigenetics. Anyway, yeah, but let's not derail the conversation since we're already on this.
Yeah, again, it's more of a question of semantics over what we mean by objective, and therefore I'm saying objective in the sense of having presuppositions by which you can make is turned into oughts, right? And you're saying, yeah, but you can't turn an is to an ought, and I'm saying, well, I've already got presuppositions which mean I can do that, right?
I don't think that's how that works.
Well, it's how it works in one way of saying objective, right? It's not in the sense of maybe the philosophical term of objective, meaning external to the mind, because the whole thing I'm talking about is in the mind. Chemicals are in the mind. That's how they're affecting our behavior. So when you say right action can't be caused by chemicals, I would say, well, they're in the mind. So if your presupposition is to exclude
that would be
from the operational landscape, then fair enough. I agree with you. You can't have morals, right? Informed by chemicals, right? But if you do include morals as a descriptive word for the process that happens within the brain, right? Then of course you're talking about a different category. So
you could have different processes. You could have different brains, and so it can't be something that's real and objective, because
so you have different brains, and yes, it's not real and objective in that sense that they are external to all minds, right? That's not the sense that I'm using the word, right? And I'm not the only one that does this. So, people do this in philosophy quite a lot, right?
I don't know. I couldn't say what a lot of people do, and
well,
people do almost everything in philosophy. They take almost all positions. Anything you can think of, they believe it.
Yeah, it seems that way for sure. And maybe I should have said some instead of a lot. I don't know.
I just cannot. I cannot wrap my mind around the idea that our evolutionary history or our chemical makeup has anything to do with what I don't think that they are even in the same ballpark.
Yeah, okay. And that's fair enough. Again, I'm not going to sit there and go, okay, right, I'm just using a different definition of objective. I'm using it in the sense of universal amongst the human race, because we're only talking about humans and human minds. And even then it's not, because some people have deficient minds, right? So
that's what you think. They think you're deficient.
So I'm using it in the loosest possible sense. All right. But I think there is a consensus, of behavior that we can show that physically goes on in the mind that shows that, and we can correlate that. So I'm not saying it's a causation. I'm saying
who is right? Who is right?
And we can say there's a correlation between the action which we describe in the general sense of moral and some chemical process. All right. Yeah. And now that's a much, I'm trying to put it in as technical sense as I can without making it so bullshitty that it can't be understood, right? So I appreciate that when you want to use philosophical words, they may run against that milder case that I'm putting forward. But nonetheless, that given the assumption of naturalism, all right, that's the case that you can put forward, right, to explain what we describe.
You can't though. But
sure,
I think you can say that for humans, these, given our evolutionary history, these are the kinds of behaviors that have been favored by evolution and been I'm trying to avoid saying programmed because I don't like that, but I'll just say programmed into us as a consequence of our evolutionary history. But that
would be a better term.
That doesn't make them right.
No, I didn't say it makes them right. I said it makes it doesn't matter whether they're right or wrong. It makes them part of that set of behavioral actions we describe as morals. That's all.
Yeah.
That was the original question to you. And it's a lot more than I think you first took it to be.
Well, suppose in the future go away and come back in 1,000 years, and the human race still exists, but every single human is a psychopath. And they have no inner sense of emotions or connections with anybody. They don't get any oxytocin. They don't get any of those chemicals. They think that the right and moral thing to do is to, I don't know, do whatever psychopaths do. Right? So
they wouldn't.
Would that be moral?
Very long.
I'm sorry, what?
They couldn't survive very long like that, would they?
No, let's say
be able to reproduce.
Let's say that they do. Let's say that they even do better.
Let's entertain the hypothetical, right? That's no problem doing that. I think we would still describe it as moral, as the actions that they perform, as on a scale of morals, whether they be at the bottom or the top, right or wrong.
Well, how could you possibly say one way or the other?
Well, I think we would describe it as some type of action which is moral. That's all I'm saying. Whether it's right or wrong. Listen to the whole thing.
Well, their society is brutal. It's a brutal society. Sort of, it's like the Spartans. Only they're all perfect Spartans, right? So
whatever. I don't think that's a great analogy either. But that's not the point.
Would they hurt their babies where they wouldn't survive?
They do.
Then their babies wouldn't survive very long. Then wouldn't we have a population?
Oh, but they do. They do survive. In fact, they do really well.
I guess
they
they'd
do
be tougher,
really well.
maybe.
Just say they do. I still think they would describe it one way, maybe. They might say, because they're all psychopaths and they all agree with each other, this is the normal thing to do. And is therefore, and hang on, and is therefore defined as right. Right? And I would go, hang on, and I would go, because I come from a much distant path where there were different norms, I would say, hang on, that's immoral.
Yeah, can we both be right?
That's fine, because they're still described as some kind of moral framework.
Sure. I'm agreeing with you. with you.
Okay. Let's not keep going down this right and wrong.
So the question
to the original point that we were making.
But the question is, which one of us is right?
Okay, that is another question. Yes, that is a.
Well, that is the question, isn't it?
It's not the question. No, it's another.
It's totally the question about morals. Which one of us is right?
It's a different question, though.
No, it is the central question about morality. Which society is right?
It's subjective.
You can't just say, "Oh, right. Well, I heard your question, but I'm not going to answer. I'm going to answer a different one," and then expect to get agreement. That's just ridiculous.
Well, the lack of agreement indicates that there is no such thing then, right?
No. Wait, Brenda, I would just want to add one thing. And the way you're interpreting this, right now we're all kind of like, I like how you've been kind of adhering to Gricean maxims. Maybe you're familiar with that, like, waiting your turn.
I'm not. I'm familiar. I've heard of Grice, but I've not read him.
Well, he wrote these maxims. He wrote these maxims on conversation. You're waiting your turn to speak. Simon speaks after you. You're applying. You're adhering to these rules of logic in speech. And in that very same way, all Simon is saying is to recognize that distinguishment. As long as you can recognize that, then you've recognized in the very same way, morality has these things where you can recognize these differences in morality. And it's the same applies for speech. In the way, if you really believed in what you believe, that it's all nuance and it's preference, then you would have no concern for speech. You could talk over someone. It would be chaotic. You wouldn't be able to hear anyone. And
then you get booted. Then you won't survive.
Yeah.
Survive on this line.
In the same way, you can recognize the difference between that people can discern these by intuition with morality, and I think that's what people are trying to explain, that there is a sense in this that can be recognized within the organism itself in a very objective way, in a very objective manner.
Why should I survive?
You don't have to survive. No one said you should.
Yeah. Well, you kind of did imply that, though.
Well, no, Alan Watts once said, "You only go on if the flame is worth the candle." You know that.
I don't understand that.
That if you, Kurt Cobain once said, it's better to burn out than to fade away.
Right. No, it's better for the candle to go as long as it can. That's
yeah.
better.
Yeah, and okay, well, however you perceive that, that's how you burn, and
Yeah. Sure,
yeah,
I
and so
agree with that. But none of that. The fact that there are these differing opinions shows that there isn't an answer, which shows that it isn't moral one way or the other.
It's more the environment.
It's just a preference.
The culture.
If you want to call it
just a preference.
If you want to call it a preference, that's
I think
okay. Hang on. We are
go ahead.
Saying that the preference, right, as you want to call it, is caused by some chemical, assuming naturalism.
Sure.
Right. Thank you.
That's the naturalistic fallacy. That doesn't make sense.
Christ.
It is.
Right. Okay. Whatever.
The preference is just another name for the moral. It's just the preference.
Yeah. In other words, you're seeing the point, but you're missing the point in that, like, you're seeing the preference. You notice that there's a preference. That's all we're pointing out, that you can define that there's a preference between what you perceive as so-called right and wrong. Even though you call it a preference, we're saying that there's still a framework in which you do that in. That's all they're acknowledging. That's all they're recognizing. That's it. They don't want you to say anything more than that. They don't want you to confirm whether it's true or false. They just want you to recognize that you're seeing that. That's it.
That there's chemicals that drive that preference, and that preference is what has traditionally been called morals. But we don't think this objectively, that is objective outside of those chemical responses.
Yeah, I understood that the whole time. It's not part of the dispute.
It almost seemed as though you didn't, from a sudden, the way you were arguing against it.
Yeah, well, I mean, when I first asked the question at the beginning, I made it quite clear, right, that we didn't need to talk about the value of the moral. We were only talking about the emergence of it and what was a possible emergent or plausible explanation for the emergence of it, given that naturalism is true. And that's all I was pointing out.
Well, so given evolution, humans have developed certain behaviors,
preferences
that we consistently, relatively engage in to ensure our survival. Mm-hmm. Nowhere in that is there any kind of, I don't think you can derive any set of moral or ethical principles about what we ought to do. It's simply what we do.
About that. How many times have you been told?
And we're not talking about that.
We're talking about that those preferences are what have been defined, or what the phenomenon is defined as morals.
Well, just as long as you understand, you're not talking about morality then.
It is morality. It's just that the people thought morality was something that wasn't. They thought morality was beyond these chemical responses, but morality is just these chemical responses. And
it's not, though. It isn't.
Sure,
it's just chemical responses.
You just agreed to it.
It is, exactly, right there. It's chemical
responses. It's just preferences.
Preferences.
Which are not morals.
Yes, they are. It's just that people pretend that morals are something that they're not. It's not that the terms that these as preferences don't exist. It's that morals being separate from it just being a preference.
I don't see us getting any further in this.
Well, of course not. That's because every time we say, "Oh, hang on, morals," you go, "Oh no," and I've explained to you how many times when I use the word moral, I don't mean your specific idea of what is right. I'm just talking about actions that the humans do. You can agree that humans do actions and that those actions are based upon some kind of chemical responses.
Yeah.
Okay, great. We're done. Thank you, Brenda.
But they're not moral.
I don't care whether you call them morals or not. I really don't.
Because morality is principles.
I don't care whether you call them morality or not.
We already accepted
I really don't understand. I'm just completely lost here. And so
we wouldn't have had a conversation this long on such a simple point.
You agreed also that we're using a modified version of what morality means in this case.
Yeah, it's incorrect. It's incorrect.
Crazy that you retreat to your own.
There's
It's incorrect.
I don't understand how you can discern what definition is correct or what definition isn't
by its usage.
So what I say Brenda, all she's doing is just saying that principles are created by the groups and stuff.
I mean,
they're like not objective. It's subjective for the groups and culture and the environment.
It's clearly subjective. It's not objective in its meaning, but yeah, okay.
There's no objectivity.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. It's not objective.
I'm absolutely on board with her.
I mean, it would be an interesting conversation to have, nonetheless, and I would like to explore it. But nonetheless, until we get agreement on the original point, I feel there's no point in going on to the next subject.
Well, you should go ahead.
As you described, you think is the question. When I said, oh, right, yeah, I wasn't talking about that question. I was talking about another question. You went, well, there is only the question. That's false.
Yeah. When it comes to morality, that's what you ought or ought not to do. That's the question.
That's false.
I don't think it
I
is.
don't think that's the central question surrounding morality at all.
Not the only question. It is a question, one of many, but it's not the only question. I think that's
wow.
And I don't think it's the most important question in morality either.
Well, I think oughts and not is important. Definitely a big factor of morality, but I think it's subjective. So I think oughts and ought nots are subjective.
Yeah.
No.
Sounds right.
I mean,
it's group related. So.
Oh, we're already at
population.
I'm gonna take off because I can't get any more from this. I think I've just been able to say my piece, and I thank everybody for not getting,
Let's go, Brenda. I'm cool.
So
Thank you as well for at least, repeating back to me the bits that were obvious in my arguments. I appreciate that.
I enjoy the
so much salt lately.
There's no salt there, Brenda. I mean it genuinely.
Oh, okay. I can't tell anymore.
You thought were correct, and I tried to acknowledge the parts that I thought were different from the question that I was asking of yours, and that's cool.
Okay.
That means there's no problem, right?
Okay.
We've acknowledged each other's positions. We've understood each other's positions. What more can we hope to gain out of it?
We can't. I don't think we can get any further. That's so.
Well, we could if we asked.
It's after midnight, so I need to go.
If we asked your question, we could get further.
Before you go, Brenda, do you think I was steel manning your side? Did I steel man it correctly?
I don't remember what you said, but
with groups, it is subjective. The principles are created by those groups individually, or differently from each other. The populations have different morals and stuff.
The morals of pack animals are different from the morals of, say, solitary predators, right? So. Yeah, but I don't think that any of them. I don't think any of that has to do with morality in the larger sense.
It's like,
right?
What helps is the moral.
I'm just gonna. It's just
what doesn't help is not moral.
I think this. I think that Danny has been stirring up this community for quite a while. And people are tired and grouchy and on edge. I think that this has been a decent interaction as far as we go. And so I'm going to end it because I'm tired. It's 12:30 at night and I need to get to bed. Okay?
Good night. Take care. Yeah, that was a kind of salty end as well. But nonetheless, I know Brenda and she just sounds like that normally. So I don't think that was. And
yeah,
I eventually got my point across, I think, several times. So I'm happy.
I don't know. I don't get the focus
I
on
don't-
Danny though. I don't have any problem with Danny. I'm not salty towards Danny. I think Immutable's all right with Danny. I think Top Dog's all right with Danny. I don't know. I know you and Danny had a little bit of a go around there when you talked right before we left, but I don't know if it was anything personal. I think it was just you all talking about the subject. Which if Danny wants to come in and talk about philosophy, that's what philosophy is a bunch of people arguing about concepts. So. It's
That's what I thought it was.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, that's what we were doing with Brenda. She was asserting her
Is that
own-
what y'all thought it was? I thought it was completely something different. I'll
Well,
figure
there's
out.
many definitions, isn't there? I mean, I don't know, because like Immutable took up Danny's position immediately, right? And
Yeah,
I wanted to have that
I
conversation.
guess I shouldn't say that's what philosophy is. I should say that's what sitting around talking about philosophy leads to. I shouldn't say that's not, because philosophy has a lot more to it than that.
Yeah,
I mean, it goes around to conversations going in circles and circles and circles and circles and circles and circles and circles, and it never touches the ground at all.
Yeah.
Well, when you don't stop to confirm what somebody is saying.
So how do you touch the ground?
That's why because you stop, right, and then reassess what somebody's been saying and repeat it to them and ask them questions to make sure you've got their position correct. And that's what Brenda and I did. All right. And I managed to go, okay, she's objecting to the word objective. Okay, fair enough. She's objecting to the word morals. Okay, fair enough. She's objecting to what follows from naturalism. Okay, if you take some sort of crude naturalism. Right. And we ironed those points out, right?
Yeah.
And what I think it would be empiricism would be hitting the ground, wouldn't it? And then it would stop being philosophy so much.
And there's nothing wrong with objecting to what people are defining words as. At least questioning them to find out what
I'm hoping she'll think about it because Peter gonna go for it. Like he's been in a situation like that where he had like 4 against 1, and he admitted at the end of the stream, he's like, all right guys, you're right, I'm wrong, but Brenda, she took it to the heart. I mean, I think she was very kind of an egotistical in a way. She didn't want to say wrong or right. In her view, maybe it just doesn't exist.
Wrong or right was never part of the question.
Yeah.
She wanted to say, how do we know what's wrong or right?
Yeah, she said that was the ultimate question for her.
Maybe,
yet she wanted to say it didn't matter.
But it's not ultimate only question.
Yeah.
We were talking about the concept of morals instead of morals themselves actually existing. So I think maybe that was a hang up point too, because I get that she's saying that they're not an actual like a thing separate from, the way that we respond to our environment.
Sorry, Brainbug, that's how it was easily misunderstood yesterday, right? Or the day before, even with Speed. Right? Speed wanted to talk the subject we talked about for 20 minutes straight without mentioning right or wrong. All right? And that's
I agree. I think it might be an internal battle within her of meaning. She's trying to figure out what meaning is for herself, right? So she's waiting for someone else to chime in with it.
Sure, maybe that's the case, but that wasn't the question that she was asked, right? And that's the point that I've just made, and I don't really want to make it again, right? The point is, you don't need to talk about what it is right or wrong. Right, the fact that something is right or wrong is enough of the presupposition to go on and talk about what causes the human behavior to be one way or the other.
Right.
Right.
I'm in agreement with you there.
I mean, we had a good conversation for like 15, 20 minutes on possible mechanisms which could lead to some sort of action that one might describe as moral.
Yeah, I mean, the existence of morals as being like actually real things or being, logically consistent concepts is an entirely different topic.
Whether they're right, that's the point.
Yeah, like my conception of them is that they're not. Like, I don't think they actually exist.
Right. It's
non-realist.
Yeah.
But I think that the reason that we feel like they exist is because of chemical responses in our brain,
Right.
which was
I think the reason we're compelled to think that they do exist is because of the neurochemical activities with the brain and mind and all that.
it makes us perceive lots of stuff about the natural world that that may not comport with reality just because
Yeah,
we're seeing it from an objectively human brain chemistry.
Right, and part of that, I mean, is that evolution biases, biases evolutionary trajectory in such a way that it makes us see things that are most important to our survival.
Yeah, that's the different point.
It's like so you think about like birds, for instance. Birds see so many more spectrums of light than we do.
Right.
And we can see that within the birds, but we cannot, because we can't see through the eyes of a bird, can't experience the world as a bird. We don't know what those visual changes, the way that they see the world around them. We don't know. We can a little bit, but how that affects their brain chemistry and how they experience the world due to having that altered perception. It's
I agree.
So subjective that it's almost not worth talking about morals as a actual thing, but the concept of morals as they pertain to humans is a conversation to be had.
Well, I think
the concept of morals as being emergent from chemical pathways is completely a cogent idea. But
did you guys get anywhere with that? With Brenda?
No, Brenda just kept driving back to the same point.
Oh, she agreed She agreed at the end that if I was making a minimal claim, that it was correct to make that claim, that it wasn't interesting. And it wasn't a question about morality. Apparently.
She kept going.
I understood.
She kept going to the reductive, and I think what you have to understand is that on top of that biological reality, there's a constructive form where you come out with emergence, right? That's how you get to emergence.
Well, Immutable went that direction. I don't think he got very far into it with that, though.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, Brenda wanted to bring it into the conversation about the realism or anti-realism of morals.
Yeah,
and what moral theory properly what moral theory properly describes actions of morals, which that's a conversation, in my opinion, that's doomed to fail from the start.
I'm frustrated and disillusioned after trying to communicate with Danny, and then listen to you guys try to communicate with Brenda. I'm frustrated and disillusioned and tired, I guess. Maybe after I sleep on it, but it's just so hard to constructively get through to, with concepts to some people, and this trying to construct a naturalistic explanation for many things. I get so much pushback that sometimes I just want to shut the fuck up. I don't know. Anyway.
Well, I saw you up at like 4 a.m. last night too, so maybe you need to get some sleep as well, man.
Yeah, I need some more sleep anyway. So Immutable, can you close this out for me? And I'm just going to go.
You're already here. Come on.
What do you mean? Well, you guys.
You did.
You going to start running my intro, buddy? I worked hard on that.
Hey, I know. I keep forgetting because I'm just so fucking silly. We ran it. When did we run it? We ran it tonight for Saturday Night at the Atheist, but I forgot to run it at the beginning.
I was giving you a hassle about it because I was in there the other morning.
I'm so you did such a wonderful job. It's good. I got to remember, but I mean, shit. I was hoping I could like set it up so it was like automatic, right? But no, StreamYard doesn't do that.
I just want to thank Top Dog as well, because there were a couple of comments in there about all the extra processes that we were casually just glossing over in the first part of the conversation.
Oh, yeah. He was trying to steal man, I think, man.
Yeah. But it's worth pointing out, and I just want to point out that we are far from an understanding of the full process of the brain's powers and what it can or can't do. So So thank you very much for reminding us of that halfway through what we were reducing to a rather simplistic explanation. So
I want to thank Kafai for attempting to steelman my position as well. I mean, I appreciate anybody that at least listens to me long enough to try to do it. It's just, I don't know. So,
well, what I do is I try to think of everything from all the different angles all at once, almost.
Yeah.
My mind.
Are we going to wind up, or are you guys going to talk for a while and Immutable's going to wind up?
You wind up. That's not a bad place to finish, because we come to some kind of agreement, and we're only going to be opening up another topic. we can talk offline if we need to.
Okay.
I'm getting a
Okay.
little tired too. I mean, maybe tomorrow we'll do a similar kind of thing, but
I would like to talk to you and
Whatever direction you go, it's almost 1 a.m. here, so I'm probably out.
It's 1:40 currently. It's almost 2 a.m. here, so I'm going to get to sleep pretty soon.
I would definitely like to talk to you at some time again. You need some more.
Yeah. I'm on Discord if you need me to, if you want to chat.
Because it's been too long, and I want to talk to you about the definition of atheism.
Oh,
okay.
God.
I'm just going to finish with the joke. So there we are. Thank you.
That's all right. All right, guys. We've been on for long enough. Goodbye, cruel world. We're out of here.
Stay curious.
Take care.
Is he pushing the button or